All right. Hello, everybody. Welcome back to another episode of the Market Close. It is Monday, September 15th. We are back in the studio. Don't have the official camera set up yet. Audio should be decent from a little bit of the testing I just did. Let me know if it's not, but it should be good. It will get a lot better in the coming days as we foam up the entire studio. But we're here. We're live. We're on time. And what a market close it is going to be in 14 minutes, and what a market, intraday movement we've seen throughout the day on a variety of different names. I mean, I am so happy that we are back to our normal schedule and back to the market close on a day like this, because there is so much, genuinely so much to talk about. And I want to take some time on this close today. We don't have any technical Tuesday. We don't have anything. We could just talk, you and me, about what the heck's going on in the market. We got about 14 minutes until we close this bell. And it's quite an incredible day for a lot of names. First of all, grabby grab, 615, came back from the dead. It went to 560. As soon as it dropped to 560, I'm not going to lie, I was like, yep, she's done for the day. I'm sorry. That's genuinely, I was like, she's done for the day. It is. I've seen this story literally 20 times this year. It's like, all right, she's done for the day. And it came back within 5 minutes. And not only did it come back, in the next 13 minutes, if grab closes above 6, this will be the second $6 close in a row in over 5 years, and a 52-week high at 615, breaking through some key levels that we had yesterday, or not yesterday, on Friday. We closed at 605. So quite incredible. Grab is on its way to get to another 100 million volume today. Right now it's at 95 million. So 2 days in a row of 100 million in volume. I don't know what the heck is happening. I have some theories on it that we'll talk about, but that is incredible to see. Then you got the Googs at 251. When I ring the bell today, I will be ringing that bell in part for Google, and we will celebrate 250 on Google. So many people, I mean, I'm in Google. I'm not as heavy as a lot of other people are, especially a lot of you guys in the chat. You absolutely deserve it. I know Tom Lee's on CNBC. After we close the bell, then we'll watch his take on CNBC. And so we'll hear how he's thinking about the overall markets right now. But just incredible. Just incredible to see. I have a lot of thoughts on what's going on with Google and some opinions on how this goes from there. Now, SoFi did not hit 28 today. I don't know if it makes a run in the next 12 minutes. 27.73. We're up 4% on the day. The market's happy, I would imagine, because of rate cuts. I've got a lot to talk about FOMC and Fed stuff that we didn't get to in the morning, so we'll get deeper into that. But just an incredible day across the board. So you got SoFi at 27.70. You got Google at 251. You got Grab at 615. And then you got the S&P 500 at all-time highs. It did hit 661. Right now it's 660. A close above 660 would be incredible. And it's pretty amazing to see. Nvidia erased all of their losses. They were down 5% on the day. I remember waking up at 5:30. That's the first thing I saw this morning. That's kind of a nothing burger, only down 50 cents. We do have some updates on U.S.-China relations, which we'll talk about as well. Palantir, 167 today, now 170. Tesla, I know it's not where it was in the morning at 425, but you can't be too mad. Above 400, up 3%. Elon Musk buying $1 billion worth of stock for the first time in 5 years since February 2020. So not too bad to see. And then you got the overall market not doing too bad. Meta's up today. We do have some new Meta updates with their glasses we'll talk about. Reddit's up. They got upgraded today to 269. They're at 264. That's up 4%. Amazon 231. Iran has been moving throughout the day. This bad boy's up 9%. If I knew it was going to go to 37 when I bought it at 28.90, I thought, well, I would have bought more, but I didn't know that was going to happen. If you bought this thing at 15 before earnings, you are doing very well. So that one's exploding. Nuclear news today. Oklo, the UK and the US are going to be investing a ton of nuclear energy. That one, 95. I didn't even look at this. Wow. It was 87 in the morning. 95 up 14%. I don't know if we're going to find a stock like Oklo that has no product or no revenue, but the story is so freaking good that the street can't deny it. Again, the stock went from 6 to 95 in the course of about 15 months. Absolutely incredible. But we're seeing that throughout data centers and the AI infrastructure necessities, which energy is one of those necessities, catching a bid. CoreWeave up 7% today based on the Nvidia news that we talked about this morning. $6.3 billion of a put option. Nvidia basically has to buy back any of their, essentially any of their unused GPUs. So we'll talk about kind of the implications of that later throughout the day as well. There also was a short report on CoreWeave that didn't really amount to much. And then Nebius right here, that is also up slightly on the day. It was up a little bit more in the pre-markets. Right now at 90.56. which is not too bad. Lemonade, that one was moving this morning off potentially getting their, or not Lemonade, Archer. Lemonade's up 8% as well. Not sure why Lemonade's up, but that is up 8%. Archer was moving off a United partnership starting to come to fruition with their midnight eVTOL. Archer right there up 3.7%. Joby's up as well today. And then Rocket Lab was also touching 55, right now at 54.16. I mean, just across the board, it has been quite incredible to see how some of these equities have performed. And I think there's a lot of arguments and reasons for why this is happening that I would want to talk about today. Yeah, Lyft and Uber, I don't know what cast them up today. Lyft, wow, touching 20. Not too bad. Ready for liftoff, as Mr. Nick says right here in the chat. Lyft right here up 20.20, up 8.5%. And then you have Uber that also hit all-time highs, which I don't think anyone can be too upset about, 98.47 on the day for Uber. So it's been a quite incredible day. There's a lot of things, a lot of theories I have on kind of what's happening right now. We are entering mid-September, September 15th. So we got 2 weeks left. And historically, if we look at the charts that I showed this morning, end of September is not that good. First day to start off the end of September seems to be decent. And we're going to have to see how that ends up playing out the rest of the day. Robinhood right here, 114.75. We'll talk a little bit more about Robinhood and the new product they announced this morning. I think it's kind of just consolidating in this range, so it's not that crazy. But Robinhood not really moving with the rest of the market. Granted, it has moved a decent amount from 97 back last week. All right, let's get to Tom Lee. Let's see what he's saying on CBC. If we don't finish it, we will finish it after the bell. But let's get some of his thoughts, and then we'll keep going from there.
Anniversary day for Fundstrat.
It is indeed. It's our 11th year since we started Fundstrat, which was September 15th, 2014.
Blink of an eye.
It's a blink of an eye, yes, because this is still mid-cycle for the bull market as well.
All right, so since you said mid-cycle for the bull market, let's get right into the record highs that we are seeing. If it's mid-cycle, that kind of implies maybe third, fourth inning, maybe fifth at the latest. Is that how you see things for this rally?
Yeah, I mean, I think some parts are later cycle, like part of the Mag 7 trade. But I do think AI still has many years to just propel earnings surprise and innovation and economic growth. So I don't think it's late, like it's too late. It's not too late to buy the Mag 7. But I think the next leg of this is really the Fed cutting, helps the ISM get back above 50, brings down mortgage rates, so it's a cyclical broadening trade. And then I think, financials I think are still important because I think that they're going to re-rate more like technology stocks. Goldman and JP Morgan are basically technology companies now. And as they embrace the blockchain, they're going to become more streamlined and less employee dependent, much more AI driven. So I think there's a lot to look forward to.
Now, if that is the case, you mentioned that it's because of a possible rate move lower and a trajectory of lower interest rates. Just how critical will it be to this market to have those lower interest rates? And do you think that there is a post-Fed playbook for what those companies are going to be?
Yes, I think it's really important for CEOs to be confident the Fed is cutting because we know the labor market has slowed, maybe even wobbling. And that's because businesses are cautious and the ISM reflects it. It's been 31 months below 50. The Fed can actually re-inject confidence by saying we're back into an easing cycle. That helps businesses get confident and expand again. So there's a lot of legs to this if the Fed cuts. And I think it'll be a real improvement in liquidity.
You alluded to some of the places that could see the biggest impact.
Yes.
But can you take us through those? If you had to put a top three together about where you think the most activity or juice could come from if the Fed were to embark on this path. I think of maybe home builders. I think of other parts of the market, maybe technology based on valuations. But in your mind, what are the places that are going to reap the most benefit from that?
Yeah, so I'm looking at September 98 and September 2024 as the playbook, because those are both years where the Fed was on extended pause and they cut in September. The number one trade is NASDAQ 100. So I think that's why the Mag 7 and the AI trade gets a lot of lift off. The second is monetary liquidity sensitivity, global central banks easing. That's Bitcoin and Ethereum. And seasonally strong, I think they could make a monster move in the next 3 months, like huge. And the third, of course, is interest rate sensitives. That's really small caps and financials. But really, the first two might be the standout trades.
All right. Because you mentioned the crypto side of things, you're actively involved now. It's not just a thing that you're doing on the side. You are very much engaged in the business of crypto. You govern, you oversee crypto assets now. If we were to say Ethereum, Bitcoin, we try to bucket them into risk-averse assets or risk-on type assets.
Yeah.
Is it fair to look at them that way we used to compare them correlation-wise to the NASDAQ 100. Is that the fair assessment for how these things trade in the coming months?
Yes. Bitcoin is particularly monetary policy liquidity sensitive. Ethereum has elements of being sensitive to liquidity, but it's also part of this AI moving onto the blockchain and Wall Street moving onto the blockchain and that whole stablecoin ChatGPT moment for crypto. So Ethereum, I think, trades almost like 1971 Wall Street, which was the dollar went off the gold standard, a lot of innovation. Ethereum essentially is a growth protocol, and that's why Bitmine is so aggressively acquiring Ethereum.
What industries are going to see the most immediate impacts of the benefits of being on a blockchain like Ethereum, for example?
Oh, well, there's enormous benefits. Well, number one, stablecoins have proven that moving money is really good for consumers. You know, stablecoins are a way for unbanked people to actually have banking access. And merchants like it because they don't suffer from chargebacks. And we've seen it at Bitmine because we are moving money onto the blockchain, right? We receive fiat money, we put it on the blockchain and buy Ethereum. It moves with a lot less friction. So while
Okay, so we'll finish that after the bell. Tom Lee making his kind of core argument that Ethereum is valuable from a stablecoin perspective, and obviously Bitmine, which now owns 2.1 million Ethereum, that was announced today. About 10.7 billion in cash. We don't know exactly how many shares outstanding, but the NAV is somewhere around 41, 42. Obviously, it is trading at a premium to NAV. They are very bullish on Ethereum. Now, Bitmine was down a bit on the day. Ethereum was down as well. Again, as I said in the morning, I would not read too much into it. If you're in this name and you're trading it, whether you're selling options on it, buying options on it, buying shares, swing trading shares, it's volatile. And that volatility, it's the 28th most liquid stock traded every day, about $2 billion worth of it. That's the value of the volatility, is that you get the ability to trade it up or down, go long or short. So the volatility is a function and, quite frankly, an asset to the underlying equity. And that's like what people care about in Bitmine. But I wouldn't be too nervous if it goes up or down, even 7 or 8% a day. Like, I think the average swing per day, I don't know what the exact number is, but it has to be anywhere between 3 to 5%. And that is to be expected on a name like Bitmine. So you got Bitmine right there, 53.20. That's down about 3% of the day. Palantir making a run for 171. Tesla 409. Hopefully gets a 410 close. Again, we'll talk more about Tesla later throughout the show, but was very exciting to see Elon buy it at buy $1 billion worth of it and basically say, hey, I am bullish. This is what Elon tweeted today. Tesla's up $69 to 420 as foretold in the prophecy. So it was definitely nice to see Elon having some fun with buying Tesla. And look, the market cares. Now, is the market going to care like 3 weeks from now that Elon bought Tesla? Maybe they will, maybe they won't. But if we get a bit of a run as we get rate cuts coming up, which we will talk more about the implication of those rate cuts, then Tesla hopefully should be able to do well. We got about 1 minute until the close. The Googs is trying to close above 250, which I think it will do. So the bell at the close will definitely be to celebrate Google. And also it will be if Grab in the next 30 seconds can close above 6, the second day in a row that Grab closed above 6. Oh, wow, we hit 616. I didn't even see that. We hit 616. Looks like we will close above 610, which I am more than happy about and very, very grateful for. But starting to get some momentum. Second day in a row. Again, when it fell as much as it did in the morning, I pretty much gave up hope and was like, all right, this is not going to come back that easily. And then it just came back that easily, which means there were plenty of people that wanted to increase their position when it fell to the 560s, 570s. And those people ended up buying. So there you go. Maybe we are going to get the 615 close. Let's see what we got. Thank you, everybody, for being here. We are once again on the market close. No more interruptions, no more traveling, nothing to stop it. We are live and we'll be able to talk, just me and you, about what's going on in the markets. Thank you, everybody, for being here. 4 p.m. September 15th. The stock market is now closed. All right. It's been a minute since we had a real bell. It's been a minute since we had a real bell. And there we go. The markets are now closed. Wow. Grab closes at 108 million shares. Wasn't it at 95 million shares traded at like 350 or 355 when I said how many shares? That means 14 to 15 million shares were traded in the last 10 minutes to the upside. Not too bad. Not too bad. Grab right there, 616 after hours. The sound quality is good. Did you fix the echo? I think I fixed the majority of the echo. I want to foam up a little bit more of the room, but yes, for the most part, the echo should be fixed, which means we should be good to stream from the studio. S&P closes 660.59. We did hit 661, so it's not an all-time high, but the fact that we even closed into the 660s is incredible. That's up about 0.5% on the day. AMD up 1.62. Nvidia pretty much recovers everything that it lost in the morning. So if you bought the Nvidia dip at 172, congrats, 177 on the day. Tesla right here does get the 410 close. Not too bad, up 3.68%. The Googs gets a 250 close. We got a lot to talk about with Google, and we'll go deeper from there. And we'll kind of discuss what's going on with the Googs. SoFi right here, 27.60, gets a 4% close on the day. Reddit right here, 263. Amazon, 231. Got some interesting updates on Amazon. Maybe Amazon's the next Mag 7 to run, so we'll talk about that. Meta right here, 764. CRM, 242. PayPal, 67. ELF at 144. Apple, 236. Was ELF up on the day? ELF was up 7% on the day, so maybe some news happened on ELF that we'll talk about. SMCI, 45.30. That was relatively flat. AppLovin, wow, almost got to 600. 595. At the top of the day, 593 on the close. Not too bad. Enphase right there, 37.98. Where did Bitmine close? Bitmine closed at 53.21. That was down about 3.4% of the day. Rocket Lab, 53.93. Not too bad. ASTS, did we get above 41? We did get above 41. That's up 6% on the day. HIMS, 53.93. Not too bad. Uber, all-time highs. Has not cracked 100 yet, but 98.98. Not too bad. Lyft, the option flow that I'm looking at on one side of my screen that I'll show you guys in a second is pretty damn bullish today. Someone loaded up pretty heavy on call options, which is why this thing might have pumped up 9% on the day. So if you're in Lyft, congratulations. Iran up 10% on the day. CoreWeave up 7.8% on the day. Again, not too bad. Nebius, not as great of a day as CoreWeave, but obviously that stock up 40% from last week. Can't complain about that. Nubank trying to touch 16. I mean, you're seeing a lot of momentum over the past 2 weeks in September. And the question is going to be, after FOMC, which is in 2 days, can we maintain that momentum? And that's what we are going to try to figure out. Oscar got hit on the day. Okay, weird. Lemonade went up. Oscar went down. So Lemonade closed at what? 7%, up 8%, 56.83. Oscar down 5%. All right. Probably has to do with more news about subsidies on the ACA, United Health as well. Took a little bit of a hit today. It was down a little bit more in the pre-markets. Now it was relatively flat, down about 0.5%, nothing too crazy. But some of the insurance names did get a hit. Grab, wow, 617 after hours. Volume after hours looks like another 500,000 shares. My goodness, dude. I have some theories on Grab. We'll talk about it. I've been trying to put the pieces to the puzzle together, but I've not seen a stretch like this and a string of momentum like this over the past 2 days in a while. So we'll try to go deeper into what we got going on from there. All right, let's finish up with Tom Lee, and then we'll get into all the topics that we got to talk about. This will be a long market close, just you and I talking about what the heck is going on and what we see coming, or at least what I think could be coming after FOMC. Which will be happening on Wednesday.
Wall Street is building on the blockchain because they can rebuild a lot of their infrastructure on a public chain, really improves trust, and there's a lot of resilience and censorship resistance. Banks' biggest cost is labor. That's something they can save by moving on to the blockchain.
We've talked in the past about tokenization of markets, specifically the stock market. Is that something that is perhaps better indicated for certain types of blockchains versus others?
Yeah, there is already a lot of effort to tokenize. Robinhood is leading that effort for retail investors, tokenizing stocks, which allows you to trade it 24/7, which is a benefit, and with a lot of transparency. They're building these on Ethereum or a layer 2 of Ethereum. So Ethereum, which is the second largest blockchain after Bitcoin, is where Wall Street is choosing to build these tokenized securities.
All right. Tom Lee, with all things Fed, rates, stocks, AI, and of course, crypto as well. Thank you very much. We'll see you soon.
And I just want to thank CNBC. They've been a great partner and helped a lot of investors.
Congratulations on your 11th year.
Okay, so that is what we had finished up with Tom Lee. Got a quick headline right here. Rocket Lab says we may offer and sell shares of our common stock from time to time of up to 750 million. Is that a mixed shelf offering? If they're saying we may offer and sell shares of our common stock from time to time, but I think that's a mixed shelf offering. Not really. Stock is down. It's down 2.8% after hours. Based on that announcement. I don't think that's a big deal. I mean, that's kind of okay. Look, it's dilution. It's just strategic dilution. Also, I mean, Rocket Lab is trading at a pretty expensive multiple. Why wouldn't they dilute, right? If people are willing to buy shares at these levels, that should be a reason for them to raise cash. It's probably very prudent and smart for them to do that. 750 million. I don't know if that's aggressive for grab. There's not for grab for Rocket Lab. I mean, it's almost $1 billion worth. Yeah. Now Rocket Lab right here down 3.0% after hours. Space is indeed capital intensive. Also, I mean, look, the stock is still up a good amount year to date. So even with this, I mean, from the April lows, it's up more than 300%. And from January 1st, it's up 117%. So you cannot be that upset unless you literally bought at 53 or 54. You cannot be that upset that they're offering. And they likely will use that capital, if you trust Peter Beck, which I do, to be productive with that capital. So that does not seem like the worst thing in the world. Is Oscar down another 5% after hours? Oscar is, wow, down another 5% after hours. Why is Oscar falling? That's 10% throughout the day. I would imagine there's some news on the Affordable Care Act that could be causing that. Let's see if we can find that real quick. By the way, Nvidia has completed their $4 billion equity raise as well. Oh, Oscar offering how much? $350 million. $350 million for Oscar. Dilution on Rocket Lab, dilution on Oscar. I can't get mad at Oscar for offering $350 million. This is also another shelf offering. They did not dilute yet, but they have the ability to do it. So can't be that angry at them. At least they're telling you they're going to do it. But again, Oscar stock also was at $11. Now it's at 17, got to 20 at some point. So for them, it probably is an opportunistic time to dilute. Now I wonder what the major Oscar bulls would think of this. Oscar doesn't Oscar have like a couple billion in cash? Do they really need another 350 million? I don't know. Maybe there's some nuance to understanding this offering, but that probably could be the reason why that stock. I mean, that seems to be the reason why that stock is down about 5%. Okay, so Rocket Lab, for those that are just joining, dilution, potential dilution of 750 million bucks. Same thing with Oscar, about 350 million bucks for dilution. I don't know if those are really going to have that big of an impact. I mean, obviously Rocket Lab down 4% based on that news right now, but we're going to see how aggressive the street thinks of it tomorrow when the market opens. I don't think it's that big of a deal. I mean, space is capital intensive. You need some money, and Rocket Lab stock is up a lot this year, so shouldn't be the worst thing for the broader markets. SoFi cannot dilute because they've already dumped the 72 million shares at like what, $20.70, I think was their price. So they already raised the money. They already diluted. So the market's overlooked it, which is actually a good thing. They just kind of just got it over with all at once. And the market moved on from it. I mean, a lot of times, dude, dilution's annoying when it comes out. Like Grab did dilution as well, or like a convertible note, which eventually will dilute. But then you have to ask yourself, like holistically, why are they doing this? Why do they need the capital? How are they going to utilize the capital? How does this strengthen the balance sheet? So there's like, usually if it's a quality company, the market moves on from dilution and says, hey, it's not that big of a deal. So I don't think Rocket Lab or Oscar are in like some dire situation where the market gets that upset. Nonetheless, you do have some dilution there with those two names. All right, so let's talk about a bunch of different topics. We got a lot of stuff to discuss. Yes, this is one of the big headlines. The S&P 500 closed above 6,600 for the first time ever. Bullish, to say the least. Not bad to see the S&P 500 closing above 6,600. This is the most expensive S&P 500 in history. And we'll look at some charts to explain why the S&P 500 is the most expensive. But then again, this is the most important, one could argue, technological revolution that we've seen from an earnings perspective in history. So maybe it warrants it, but we'll talk more about some of the implications on that. NASDAQ as well, not a bad day. As you can see right here, let's get to the Qs. Yeah, up about 1% of the day. Did we hit 600? No, 591, not at 600 yet. But the NASDAQ looks like it's on its way to have a chance to get there. Adam Spice, the CFO of Rocket Lab, has also said they have close to a dozen potential acquisitions they're eyeing, so this makes sense. Yeah. And again, Rocket Lab, if you trust management on buying companies, right? Some companies suck at acquisitions and M&A, but if you trust Rocket Lab's purview on how they should think of strategic M&A for the business, then they're going to need money for that. They're going to raise money from shareholders, and that money eventually will be accretive. So the rate of innovation and growth versus the rate of dilution is usually what matters here. And with a company like Rocket Lab, you would assume they understand what they're doing. So I don't think it's something to be that scared about. Uber right here, 98.94. Roblox was at 137, hit 139. I think that's not a 52-week high, but that's getting kind of close. That was up about 3% of the day. Then you got Corey at 128. Eli Lilly was down a little bit on the day. Rocket Lab right here, 51.90 after hours, which is what we got. Yeah, they're acquiring Maddie Capital in an all-stock deal. That's exactly what they are doing. Okay, cool. So let's get into some of these topics. I'm so happy to be back, dude. I just dropped off Arnie and Amir at the airport. I got them some Popeyes for the first time. They actually really enjoyed it. I think they would like Chick-fil-A better, but we didn't get a chance to show them Chick-fil-A. I'm officially in this apartment alone now until my lease ends, which is August of next year. So I actually have the ability to live here and not travel for hopefully the next couple of months. Remember, I told you guys there's an international trip coming up in August. That trip potentially could happen. I just think I'm not going to go on that trip if I do get the offer. And I'll tell you guys what the offer is after, like, it's official that I'm not going. Because it would be an amazing opportunity, but dude, I just can't. I cannot do it. Dude. I need to be home. I'm just so tired of getting on airplanes and going across the country. So I'm happy to be back, happy to be in a routine, happy to be able to just talk, get through the news, actually analyze everything. I'm happy to be on my phone and be able to just like tweet the news. The happiest I am is when I'm home, there's AC and there's good Wi-Fi. I mean, it's hard to make me happier than that, bro. It's hard to make me happier than that. So we are back, and I'm very grateful for all the opportunities. I'm not complaining about the opportunities, and this is why I took the opportunities. And if I really need to do the international trip in October, I would take that opportunity. But it is nice to have a little bit of a routine and not kind of mess up the flow of the show in the opening or the close. So we're back. All right, let's get into it. Bunch of different topics to discuss. Let's start off with the first couple things from a broader macro perspective, and then we'll talk about Grab because I know everyone thinks about that. First of all, the reason I said Amazon might be the next big Mag 7 to run is this right here. Someone bought 8 million of Amazon 260 calls from March. Obviously, they are betting on an all-time high breakout. Amazon was at 250 back in January. And now, Amazon fell to 160, then it got back up to 230. So Amazon is one of the names that simply has not broken out this year. Year to date, Amazon's up 5%. That is underperforming, I think, every single Mag 7. Apple year to date. No, Apple's the worst. Apple's still down 3%. So Amazon's better than Apple, but everyone else is performing better than Amazon. Maybe that is the next one to run. There's also a couple of arguments for why Amazon is the next to run from a fundamental perspective that we'll talk about. But that is one thing to keep an eye on out for Amazon. Sam Altman today posted GPT-5 Codex. Already 40% of traffic for Codex should be the majority sometime today. Codex is GPT or OpenAI's version of Cursor, their ability for you to kind of vibe code, edit code, implement your code base, all that stuff. You're seeing more of an adoption of GPT-5 implemented into Codex, which is important because that means their latest model is starting to get more momentum, and they need that model to get more momentum to prove that there's a use case for that model. However, it's not strong enough to stop what's going on with the Googs. Google Gemini, as of today, is still number one against ChatGPT. And again, I was quite surprised when I saw this over the weekend. It has not changed over the past 24 hours. And the fact that it's there and the fact that Google continues to be number one, I think definitely Sam Altman is feeling a bit more scared than not, because Oscar, by the way, is still down about 4.8% after hours. When you see a company worth $3 trillion that has the level of distribution that Google has officially beat you in the first mover advantage that you've had for basically 2.5 years. I mean, that's got to make you think, all right, wait a second. We can't just ignore what the hell is going on with Google. Again, the T in GPT transformer was developed by Google engineers back in, I think it was 2015, 2017, when the first AI white papers came out around transformer technologies. And the biggest LLM for the past couple of years has been GPT, as OpenAI kind of just ran away with it. Google took their time to build their model, really get it established, and now it is here. Now, we learned this morning that the nano banana feature is kind of one of the core reasons why a lot of people are downloading Gemini and beginning to use it. I actually used it the other day and I said, hey, make this picture animated, and it was pretty good. Now, I'm sure there's like better use cases on how people are using nano banana, but that could be one of the defining arguments, not to mention the bundling of GCP and Gemini Ultra 2.0, or 2.5, which really is getting adoption in the enterprise space, which is another way that GCP starts to maintain momentum, and Gemini obviously starts to infiltrate into a lot of people's lives. And then you've got the basic argument that all the data is incorporated within Google, YouTube, Gmail, Google Sheets, all that stuff. And obviously that could be very exciting for Google long-term. Now, again, I don't use Gemini every day. I still use Grok every time. I'm open to switching and trying out Gemini. Like, I have no bias against it. It's just, for me, Grok has still been my main user, but I feel like I'm in the minority because most people do not use Grok because it's like a Twitter thing that, like, if you're a techie, you kind of know about it, but most people seem to be GPT, but maybe most people will start to be Gemini, which will be very, very exciting to see. For everyone wondering why Rocket Lab and Oscar are down after hours, we got some dilution. Rocket Lab to the tune of 750 million and Oscar to the tune of 350 million. Oscar is a bit more confusing for me because Oscar, like, they have a couple billion in cash. So, I mean, I'm sure they can use the 350 million for something. Not sure exactly why they need it, but Rocket Lab makes more sense because, like, space is expensive. But those two companies did put out some shelf offerings, and that's likely why it's seeing some dilution. So there you go. That's what we got after hours with some of those names. I do. Yeah, that's correct. I do use Gemini every time I search on stream, at least Google AI overviews, and that turns into Gemini. So that is correct. I use it on stream like every day. I don't use it on my personal like questions on my phone, but I mean, maybe if I download it and I start incorporating it a lot more, then my habits will change. But definitely on stream, it's the fastest to find an answer. And from that answer, we can just get better questions, right? Or better forms of content when we have questions that we don't have answers to. I ran after hours. Is that one running a bit? I ran still going 37.27 after hours. I don't know if there was, I mean, there had to be some news on Iran. I don't know exactly what it was, but the data center plays definitely lit up. Oh, wow. This was the news? Really? Well, okay, hold on. This technically wasn't news today, but I probably reported this in the summer and I forgot. Cleo Fields, one of our U.S. representatives, bought Iran in the summer. It's up 104% since he made the trade. Okay, so that's not like breaking news. I probably reported it in July. But the fact that, again, these politicians, they do not miss, is quite incredible. It is quite incredible. So there you go. Iran and a lot of the other data center plays getting some momentum. And Bitfarms today, again, a lot of you guys told me they are now pivoting into a data center play outside of a Bitcoin miner. There you go. That was up 15% as well. It seems like there is a market for the broader ecosystem of data centers and AI to catch a bid on these smaller names if they're guaranteed hyperscaler revenue. And a lot of them, market caps are small. They can get some of these big contracts like Nebius did with Microsoft. That is obviously very, very bullish for some of these companies as well. Chipotle authorizes additional $500 million for share repurchases. Okay, cool. Chipotle, instead of diluting, they're buying back some of their stock. Now, this stock has been in the gutter as well for the past couple of weeks, past couple of months. That stock's up 1% after hours. All right, so Chipotle with a little bit of buybacks, that is up 1% after hours. Amit, when are you going to bring back the daily recaps? Daily recaps likely will be brought back in the next couple of weeks. I'm planning on it like starting in October. I know that it's been gone for like 4 months. Daily recap, for those that don't know, is basically me recapping the entire market close, or really the entire what has happened in the market open and market close in about 15 minutes every single day, and like an actual video, like uploading an actual video to the channel, not just streaming. Likely in 2 weeks, we'll be bringing that back. That's a format I really like doing, and I really want to keep doing. It's just the past couple of months have been impossible to do it, but should be coming back in October. So for those that like can't watch the entire stream, those 15 minutes should get you caught up on what's happening every single day. Okay, cool. Let's talk about grind. I hate just, dude, I read this freaking comment, bros grinding hard. And I wanted to say, let's talk about Grab. but then I see the fucking comment and anyway, let's talk about Grab, not grind. Let's talk about Grab. I'm still getting into the swing of things, bro. I'm getting into the swing of things. Trying to get back to normal. Okay. And then we have a bunch of other topics that we'll talk about, but let's spend about 15 minutes talking about links that I spit out my water, dude. Let's talk about Grab. Let's talk about Grabby Grab. All right. So I'm curious about your interpretations of what's going on. And I know you guys are seeing Mike's tweets. I love Mike. Mike is a big guy in the Grab community. He's a friend of mine. And you know, we post a lot of DD together, and you guys are like copy and pasting his headlines in the chat and be like, look, Amit, here's a headline. I'm telling you guys, my opinion, I don't think the Alipay partnership or the Thailand government partnership or the Malaysia crypto deal or the OpenAI partnership. I know he announced something about Grab and OpenAI. I don't think any of that shit is the reason for why Grab has moved 20%, not more, almost like 30% in the past month. I really don't. I don't think any of the, I think those are like nice things to the story and to the thesis, but those are not game changers. Those are not a reason why 200 million shares have been traded of the stock that barely trades 25 million in the past 2 trading days. It doesn't make sense to me. Like none of those headlines are like game changers, but like those are good headlines. They're important. And I'm happy Mike is posting that DD because it helps me stay updated with it, but it's not enough to get the market to be like waking up to what Grab could become. So I think something's happening behind the scenes that none of us know about. I think there are some whales that understand that there's a merger or an acquisition or the $8 billion of war chest that Grab has is going to start to be deployed in a very strategic way, and people are front running. I mean, the fact that it fell to 560 and people took their profits within like seconds of the market open and it got swooped up within minutes tells me that there is some force in the markets, whether it's a massive retail whale or it's a massive institutional investor that knows something, that knows something or that thinks they know something that is going to happen for the stock. And I just don't know exactly how to explain what that potential, company or institution may be. Amit, a colleague from work just came from Thailand and mentioned that he always uses Grab when he's in Thailand, mostly for taxi service. Yeah, there's a bunch of people from Southeast Asia that have started to tweet about their, reliance on Grab as a product. And even a lot of them are saying, well, I'm not invested in the stock, but I use the company every day. So maybe there's a bull case, right? So I'm seeing a lot more of those tweets, which is awesome. But that's not the reason why Grab is moving. There's got to be something deeper. And I don't have the answer for that. I really don't. The only answer, the only thing I can say is I'm really happy that all of us were meaningfully loading up below $5, around $4.50, $4.70. And we had multiple opportunities for the past 9 months to do that. So that's what I'm happy about. But I don't know why the breakout happened now. I guess one other argument, we talked about it this morning, is that we got rate cuts coming up. That's going to lower the dollar strength. Grab reports in USD, but they collect currencies from across the world. So as the dollar falls potentially 4 to 5% towards the end of the year, that could be a rising tailwind for a company like Grab. Maybe the market's generally rotating. But then again, 100 million shares in a day, 2 days in a row, that's 4x the average volume. That to me is not the dollar's weakening, so people are excited about Grab. Like those are 2 macro arguments that are rooted in like super nerdy things that I don't think the person or the institution that's buying this actually cares about. There's something deeper. And I don't know, maybe I'm wrong. Maybe I'm overthinking about it. Maybe it's literally just, hey, it was undervalued and the market's catching on because they realize that, they want to diversify into things that are trading at 30% cash and growing 30% and this and that. And there's like a whole thesis behind it. But then again, someone has to discover that thesis. There has to be, and it's not me. I'm telling you, it's not me. I tweet about Grab, but I don't tweet about Grab obsessively to the point where like every single post I make is, like maybe a couple posts a week, right? I tweet more about Hood and Palantir than Grab. So the idea that it would be Amit's retail army is not true because there's 4 billion shares. Like it can't be Amit's retail. So I don't know, bro. I don't know. But I'm excited to kind of see how this one ends up playing out. The option volume, dude, let me just confirm for you guys. But the option volume today, it was like ridiculous on the level of calls that are being bought. 178,000 calls were traded today, 44,000 puts. I mean, that's 4x the level of calls versus puts that were traded today on this name. So I think there's something else. Or it could just be a technical breakout. That's true. There's a massive inverse head and shoulders. Jason has been talking about that for a long time. I mean, the like obvious consolidated 4-year base could be breaking out as those TA indicators start to form with the fundamentals. I guess my broader question is just why now? Like why in September does it begin to break out? If it's purely just technical, then I guess it's just technical. But maybe there is something fundamental here that we don't know about, and that's what is causing this run. So we're gonna see. We're gonna see how this plays out. I am not doing any covered calls on Grab. I have 0 covered calls on my shares. I did buy 1,000 more shares today at 6. I'll let you guys know right now. At 6 something. You guys know me. I'm a big believer into buying into strength. I really do think. I mean, look, if my public price target on Grab is 10 and it's at 6, like I'm just not that scared to buy it at these levels. And then when it dumped this morning to 560, I was like, well, there you go. It is like it's classic Grab. But then it surprised me by just turning around. I bought it today 603. 500 shares at 603, 500 shares at 605. That was actually pre-market. That was at 8:08 a.m. for yeah, that was at 8 a.m. And then the 605 was at 11:50 a.m. So 603 was at 8 a.m. and 605 was at 11:50 a.m. So I bought another 1,000 shares. But at the end of the day, it seems like this one's moving in. Yeah, I did not buy or I did not sell any covered calls. Okay, cool. So that's what we got on Grab, 6:15 after hours. Not too bad. Amit, are you buying PayPal? I am not buying PayPal. I am not convinced by Mr. Amir on PayPal doubling in 2 quarters. I do think the risk reward on PayPal is better than normal. I just think the opportunity cost on PayPal might be a little too ugly. Yes, I think advertising is a massive opportunity. Yes, they're buying back their stock, but I mean, dude, at the end of the day, it's just not exciting. And I think in a risk-on environment, when rates come down, there's a lot of excitement to be had. And maybe that excitement with PayPal might not be the most aggressive. So not buying that. Oscar is down because of dilution. Oscar is down because of dilution. 350 million shelf offering. I don't think it's the biggest deal in the world, but that is why Oscar is down. Now, take a look at this that came out today. I know a lot of you guys like Big Bear AI. Well, we had a politician buy Big Bear AI for the first time. Representative Lisa McClain just filed a $50,000 buy of Big Bear AI. She is the U.S. representative from Michigan's 10th Congressional District. Now, Big Bear AI is down 25% since her buy. This is the first time a politician has ever bought Big Bear AI. This happened around early August 7th to August 13th. So it's been a while. I think this was right before earnings, and earnings were pretty bad for Big Bear, and it fell to like 490 or 470. So it has recovered to like 530, 550. But you can buy 25% cheaper than when she bought. She probably bought around $650 or $7. And the majority of revenue for Big Bear comes from government contracts, which they guided to have negative growth this fiscal year. So it's quite interesting that Lisa McClain is buying Big Bear AI, likely signaling that maybe this representative thinks that there is going to be a ton of AI contracts coming into Big Bear. And, maybe that's their interpretation of it, or it might just be a buy that doesn't have that much of a signal. So she's looking for Nancy status. Yes, she might be looking for Nancy status. This was 45 days ago. So they're allowed to disclose every 45 days. And so this was basically a month ago, right? Basically August 7th. Again, I don't care if politicians trade stocks. I really don't care. Like, I could care less. I just want it to be disclosed within like the hour of the trade, or at least within a day, at least within a couple of days. But like, I don't care if they trade it. I just want to know what they're trading. Like, if you trade it on January 1st, I want to know by like January 5th latest. I don't want to know by like February 5th. So I don't know if we'll get better disclosure laws on that, but we'll see if congressional representatives are able to trade going into the next year, because there's a lot of lobbying on the left and the right to trade or to ban trading, but I personally don't think it's going to happen. So we're going to see how that one ends up playing out. Amit, are you buying more hood? I did buy more hood today. The only reason is because I needed 50 more shares to make sure my OCD was not as aggressive and to complete like a round number on the share count. So remember I bought those 50 shares at 97.98. Well, I needed another 50 shares to like make the entire share count complete. So yeah, I bought shares today, 50 shares, but I'm pretty much done with the hood position, not actively adding to it. So I think today I bought it like 114.50 or something like that. And yeah, that's the only reason I bought today. But look, I know this has been kind of annoying with Hood. S&P 500, it should be blasting off more. But look, it was at 95. It's at 115. So you can't be that upset about that. And then number two, I mean, the damn thing is up 3x from the lows, more than 3x from the lows, and up 200% year to date. So it's one of those things where it's like you just can't complain. If you want an expansion of the multiple, which I would love, but I can't be greedy for, then Hood's going to have to put up the earnings growth, which I think they will do. But the street might just be waiting until they put up that earnings growth. Now, in terms of Robinhood Ventures, which was the big news today, I thought this was an incredible piece of news that came out from Robinhood. Again, Vlad right here basically saying, hey, for decades, wealthy people and institutions have invested in private companies. Retail investors have been unfairly locked out. Robinhood Ventures, everyday people will be able to invest in this. Now, a lot of people have pointed out SoFi has already offered this for a long time, so it's not that innovative. I'm not saying this is super innovative. What I will say though is SoFi is doing it through a third-party partner. So like ARK or Templeton or all these other like VC funds that are partnered with SoFi that people that use SoFi can get access to. Robinhood themselves is launching a whole new subsidiary to launch Robinhood Ventures. And so the nuance here, the difference between this and what SoFi is doing is SoFi is saying, hey, Kathy, you've invested in a bunch of things in your ARK venture fund. Do it on SoFi so people can invest in ARK's venture fund via SoFi. Cool. This one is Vlad and the team saying, hey, we're going to create our own venture fund. We're going to let retail publicly trade it anywhere. And we are going to have full due diligence and quality control over the companies that get into that VC fund. Now, that doesn't mean all those companies are going to be phenomenal, but I've looked at Kathy's ARK venture fund and it's like there's a lot of random shit in there. And I think Vlad, given he is literally a startup founder and one of the most, iconic startup founders of our generation, I don't think he's going to let some stupid shit enter into that fund. I think it's going to be the best of the best. Anduril, Stripe, OpenAI, SpaceX, like some of the Discord, some of the most important companies that actually retail cares about are going to be in that fund. And so hopefully that will give a lot of people more exposure to what's going on. So, I mean, those are my thoughts on what Hood is doing. I will release a longer post later on my thoughts on the overall Hood Summit. I think Hood's going to $1 trillion, guys. I was talking a lot with Arnie this weekend. And we both kind of came to the conclusion they're going to $1 trillion. Like the level of execution that you see that we're seeing on a company like this in front of our eyes, you just don't see that often. And as long as Vlad is running the ship, the level of commitment they're going to have to product velocity will literally force the market to give them a higher multiple because they're going to be entering into too many verticals. I mean, there's someone, shout out to Juan, who's tracking the prediction markets, which we'll talk about today on Tech Bros with Tanner and Roy. The dude is tracking every single contract that's traded on Hood. Over the weekend, Hood did 72 million contracts traded, and they made 720 grand in revenue. There's 2 more games tonight. And so the update on that is after those 2 games, if the volume stays consistent, that's going to be about 2 million in revenue from sports events contracts in one weekend. I know it's NFL Sunday, and NFL Sunday is different from a Sunday where there's not NFL games, but throughout the NFL season, if Robinhood's putting up 2 million per weekend, I mean, how many weekends is that? 18 weekends or something? 15? I mean, that's like another $30 million to the top line, which the margin on this should be basically like 90%. Like, this is incredible. This is absolutely incredible. So it's just one of those things where it's like, wait a second, it does not feel like they're slowing down. And now a financial to get to $1 trillion is not easy. And I hesitate to say that. I really hesitate to say like a financial company could be worth $1 trillion. But then you look at JP Morgan and Goldman Sachs, and JP Morgan's much more closer to $1 trillion. And you think about the level of execution Robinhood's having versus a JP Morgan. I know JP Morgan's way bigger, but could they get that multiple if they sustain that growth over the next 10 years? I think so. I think it's possible. So it's a little bit of a bold bet right here where I'm saying $1 trillion for Hood, because I know it's hard to imagine that. But then again, did anyone see $100 billion for Hood a year and a half ago? No, I mean, most people maybe would get to like 30, 40 billion. And like the execution has just blown everybody away, which it doesn't seem like that's going away anytime soon. We did have an earnings after the bell. I forgot about it. Dave & Buster's, ticker symbol PLAY. They are down after hours. Grab still 616 after hours. They're down about 14%. Looks like earnings were not the best for this one. Does anyone even go to Dave & Buster's anymore? Does anyone? Yeah, recession indicator, maybe. Let me see. their exact earnings. I haven't been to a Dave & Buster's in a long. Is it even international? If you're international, do you even know Dave & Buster's? I feel like it's domestic. Wow, they missed by 57% on EPS. EPS is down 60% year over year. Revenue is up like 1% year over year, and they missed revenue by 1%. It's down 2% quarter over quarter. Yeah, I haven't been to Dave & Buster's in so long. And I think it's also less of a recession indicator, more of a, hey, people just might not care about going to an arcade and like buying not the best food at that arcade and going out, right? Like that just might not be the best outing for people to go to. So I don't know, less recession for me, more so people might just not want to be there. All right, so that's what you got with Dave and Buster's. Are there any more earnings this week? Let me see. I think we're pretty much done. We had Adobe last week. We have FedEx on Thursday and Lennar. Lennar is a home building company. So 2 more earnings this week, and that's pretty much it. Okay, cool. So Lena says, I just ordered Popeyes thanks to you. That's what happens, bro. Subconsciously, you say a name, and then someone might just want to eat based on that. Thoughts on PGR stock? I have no thoughts on PGR. I've heard of the name, have not really dug deep into this one. By the way, I will be trying to bring the deep dives back as well every Thursday. I know it's just been, again, just a mess the past couple of weeks, so we have not been able to actually have our deep dives, but there's a lot of names like AppLovin and Duolingo and TSM and all these companies that we wanted to do deep dives on. So we will be doing that as well. Okay, for those talking about Fubo, the voting for Fubo is September 30th. This one didn't really move. I mean, it moved up a little bit today. This is with the Disney merger, if I'm not wrong. That one's up 1.87%. So we'll see how that deadline plays out for Fubo based on how the vote goes. But voting is open, I would imagine now, and the deadline is September 30th. So for those that are in Fubo based on that merger, you guys will get to see what's kind of going on with there towards the end of the day. Yes, Chainlink Deep Live. We have to do that as well. We got to do a lot of these deep dives. Yes, Technical Tuesday should be tomorrow. I will check with Jason, but pretty much it should be tomorrow. And that should be structured as normal. Okay, cool. So let's get into, well, first let's talk about SoFi, then we'll get into some macro stuff. So SoFi, the name of the game for SoFi is rate cuts. Again, refinancing across their entire suite of products will see an uplift when we lower rates. It will hurt their net interest income like it will for any company that's dependent on high rates for juicy net interest income. Same thing for Robinhood, but it will increase for Robinhood, their trading activity. For SoFi, their refinancing demand for mortgages, auto loans, personal loans, all that stuff. So, I mean, I'm happy to see the market woke up and said, hey, this thing probably deserves a higher multiple based on 45% growth. The question now for SoFi, and I've asked this to Tanner many times, is SoFi going to pull a Robinhood and a Palantir? Is the stock that was stuck at 7 forever, then broke out to 20, does that breakout happen at 30, and that 30 turn into 50, and then 50 ending up going all the way to 100? And he's a bit hesitant on seeing that happening. Again, SoFi is still a bank, even though they're growing way faster than a bank. And banks don't tend to get that multiple. But then again, if the AWS of fintech thesis starts making sense in about a half a year, maybe it can get them. I mean, I wouldn't say they can't do a Palantir or Robinhood. I just think it's going to be a little tougher, especially because their operating leverage is not as good at Palantir or Robinhood. But it's getting there, right? It's getting to be a lot better than it was over the past couple of quarters. So I think 30 end of year seems like it should happen. For those that are loaded up on calls on this, which I know a lot of people are, I mean, for those that have January expiries, you're probably going to sell in December or January. But this doesn't look like a stock that's necessarily going to disappoint going towards the end of the year. And we're going to see. We're going to see how that one ends up playing out. I'm not holding my SoFi options. I sold the SoFi options. I bought BM&R with that, which I really can't complain because there was only $10,000 left to collect on the SoFi options. And on paper, I made like 35 grand on BM&R, and then in actual premiums, I've collected like 32 grand. So use that money to just buy BM&R. And again, the volatility of BM&R has just been, really good. Again, for SoFi, I didn't have naked calls. I had spread, so my upside is capped. For those that actually have, like my dad is $10 calls without any sold calls against it. So, he's not planning to sell until December. I think he's up like 700% on those. And he has a $10 strike. A lot of you guys, that's the one I've heard the most, the $10 January 2026 strike. A lot of people have that. And so, yeah, there's probably no need to sell as we get towards the end of the year. Okay, cool. So that's what we have in the context of SoFi. Tom Lee said financials should be the next big sector to run. I would say that's correct as long as we don't have any surprises with inflation. Well, he thinks financials and small caps are the next big sectors to run, which I agree. With rate cuts, it doesn't. Small caps, I've never understood the small cap thesis because the companies in IWM are not that good. But from a purely, hey, could small caps run based on the idea that rates are coming down? I mean, yeah, why wouldn't they? Why would? Oh, Trump's about to go live. All right, he's not live yet, but when he goes live, I'll switch over to it. But he's not live at the moment. But when rates do come down, in general, if risk-on assets have to catch a bid, it's not crazy to imagine that small caps can get some love. We just have to see long-term if that ends up actually lasting. Let's get an update right here on Nvidia. So again, we talked this morning about Nvidia and China and what's going on with them. Here is an update on how serious the Nvidia antitrust ruling from China might end up being for the stock.
But this is more than just about antitrust. It's also about leverage. Beijing launched this probe in December, just 1 week after Washington unveiled tougher chip export controls, and conveniently announced the, quote, violation today as U.S.-China trade negotiators just finished meeting in Madrid this week and today. The alleged breach involves NVIDIA's 2020 Mellanox acquisition, which was a deal China approved with conditions 5 years ago. So why act now? Well, perhaps posturing to gain negotiating power plays a role. NVIDIA released a statement this afternoon saying that they, quote, comply with the law in all respects. But shares are slightly in the red. Last I checked, about 0.3% lower. But the selling pressure really extends across semiconductors. And why is that? Because China also launched an anti-dumping probe Saturday targeting U.S. analog chip suppliers, hitting companies like Texas Instruments, which you can see is down over 3% today. But for NVIDIA investors, the bigger worry is that revenue upside really hinges partly on China demand. And the company is caught in this tug of war where the U.S. wants China to be dependent on American AI compute, while China is pushing its domestic companies to avoid U.S. tech at all costs. But the immediate financial impact may be limited, which is why you're not seeing that hit big of a hit to the stock. NVIDIA already reported no H20 sales to China-based customers in the second quarter, saying those sales hadn't reached the country yet. And this limits NVIDIA's upside potential, though. That's the big thing. It limits the upside potential on revenues and earnings in the near future if China comes back into the game or never returns because of this drama between both countries. Guys?
Yeah, and it's still kind of a question mark as to whether they'll pursue any sort of remedies related to that antitrust allegation they have there. Because
the fact that Nvidia recovered also tells me the market does not care about this China stuff, and there's likely not going to be that big of an investigation. It's probably China more so negotiating than anything else. Now, let's put here in the chat, what do you expect on Wednesday? Let's do a poll right here. FOMC, do we go green or red? That is the question. And who's hedging going into FOMC, whether it's selling calls, buying some puts, selling some shares, raising some cash? Very curious to see kind of what people are doing. Again, I have some covered calls, but I'm not doing anything too crazy. I kind of feel like this FOMC is going to be bullish, dude. I know a lot of people are saying it's going to be a sell the news, which it very well might be, given we're in this the seasonally weakest time of September, and given it tends to have a sell the news on rate cuts. But I don't know. I think the market's ready for it. 85 of 93 analysts are forecasting a 25 bips cut. 6 are forecasting no change, and 2 are forecasting a 50 basis point cut. The question is just going to be what Jay Powell ends up doing, which I think for all intended purposes is likely a 25 basis point cut. Tom Lee's end of year prediction on Bitcoin is 200,000 and ETH 15,000. So we talked about this last week. I mean, Bitcoin 200K by end of year. I don't know, bro. I mean, put in the chat if you think that's possible. And by the way, I also want to talk about what Trump said today, because I actually disagree with Tom Lee completely on this topic. I don't know if we see 200. Maybe I'm not bullish enough. I'm probably not. If Bitcoin's going to 200, Hoodie's going to 200 as well. Or at least pretty damn close. Hood's going to 150 minimum if Bitcoin goes to 200K. I mean, the level of trading volumes would be explode. I mean, Hood will probably have a quarter that does close to $1 billion in revenue just off crypto if we get Bitcoin to 200K. Like if we actually make an 80% move from here. I don't see that, dude. I'm sorry. I don't see that. And that's why Tom Lee is Tom Lee, because if he nails that prediction, then I mean, he is the GOAT if he can nail that number. Now, ETH 15, I also think is a bit aggressive. I think ETH more like 7,000. And even that to me is being a little aggressive. But if we really see a risk-on driven cycle from Bitcoin and Ethereum doing what they're doing, or getting to the levels that Tom Lee's predicting, yeah, I see a lot of you guys kind of not agreeing with that. And that would be pretty aggressive. Now, one other thing that I was not the biggest fan of today, and I just, as much as I love Tom Lee and I support him and I enjoy his content, I just disagree, dude. I really disagree with this. So Trump came out today and said, hey, I don't think companies should report every 90 days. I think it should be twice a year. And I think this is a load of shit. I think this is absolutely insane for the greatest economy in the world, which is the United States, to not require 90-day disclosures. Now, Tom said, I'm supportive of this. A 90-day cycle is not how a business operates. That's why so many companies are staying private. Agree with moving away from quarterly reporting cadence. I do not think the reason companies are staying private is because they have to report every 90 days. I think that's called being a big boy company. You have to report your numbers. I think the reason companies are staying private is because there's not been a good chance. First of all, companies are not staying that private anymore, we've had a record number of IPOs in 2025. But number two is that they're either A, not ready for the big leagues, which is why they're staying private, or B, the cost of capital, aka interest rates, have been freaking 5% for 2 years. So why would you go public? I think it has nothing to do with the 90-day cycle. It more so just has to do with the fact that companies have not been ready to go public, or like Stripe, have not had the best valuation that they think they can get from the bankers to go public to make a successful IPO. But we've seen some pretty damn good IPOs this year with Figma and Klarna and Circle. And so I don't think that's the reason. Now, I'm just confused why Trump said this today. I disagree with Buffett as well. I know Buffett also, he's been being quoted today as companies shouldn't have to report every 3 months. I think in a thriving capitalist market like the United States, where you have this much value being generated off these companies, it is very difficult for me to imagine that we only get an update 2 times a year. I also think the volatility that would be generated in the markets of not having accurate data for 6 months. And I'm sure companies will put out some press releases and stuff, but for not to just be in the blind for 6 months, I don't know. Doesn't make sense to me. Now, the argument that I've heard by some people as well, oh, if you're a short-term investor, then that's why quarterly. It's that's not about being a short-term investor. It's about, hey, wait a second. I want to know as a long-term investor, the progress of my company. If that's the case, then do it once every 2 years. I mean, what's the bright line? If 4 times a year is too much, why don't we just do it once a year? Why don't we do it once every 3 years, right? If we're really long-term, 10, 15 years into, why do I need to know what happened in 2024? I can find out in 2027, right? Because that's what matters. If I'm the argument starts to fall apart when you ask what the bright line is. And what's the argument for 2 times a year? No one has given me a concrete reason other than it's not as hectic as 4 times. Well, 1 time is not as hectic as 4 times either. 1 time every 3 years is not as hectic as 12 times in 4 years. So we might as well, it doesn't make sense. Yeah, why not once a decade? Why not? Let's just not report. To me, I don't like it. I don't think it makes a lot of sense. Amit, you would change your mind if you were a CEO. I'm not a CEO. I'm not a public CEO. If I'm a public CEO, of course, dude, if I'm a public CEO, you think I want to do an earnings call every 90 days? Of course not. So obviously this is on the side of the investor, which, by the way, in 1934, they came up with the idea to do quarterly reports. And it's been happening like that since, I think, officially the 1950s. So this is a almost 100-year-old idea that they would be doing away with, which to me, I don't know, is not that exciting as someone who actually cares about following the progress of companies and also wants to make sure that capital is being allocated in the right way. Also, we also have to recognize the reason the US market has so much liquidity is because there's a lot of traders. So while there are a lot of investors in and I'm not going to sell Palantir for a very long time, there's a lot of people that trade Palantir. The people that trade Palantir help the overall liquidity of Palantir or Nvidia or Robinhood or Tesla or Rocket Lab. And those people depend on accurate numbers every 90 days to understand how they're position sizing, how they're trading their options. I mean, dude, for those that trade options, imagine only getting results 2 times a year. It's especially those that buy 3 to 4 month options, right? Not everyone does that. Some people do leaps, but there's a lot of people that swing trade options. I don't know. That would be a cataclysmic shift in terms of the coverage of public companies in the United States. Also, you're a public company. You're a big boy. Like, you're not some mom and pop shop. Grab 617 after hours. If you're Grab at the end of the day is speculative compared to like Amazon. I need to know, as a long-term investor in Grab, which is still a pretty big company, 25 billion market cap, but at the end of the day, it's not as safe at all as Google or Nvidia or Amazon, Meta, etc. I need to know every 90 days they're doing their thing. Because if I don't know that, how am I supposed to maintain my investment or keep my investment or know if there's better opportunities? Like, I just think it is very anti-investor. I don't agree with Tom Lee on this. I really don't agree with anyone justifying that it should only happen twice a year. And I don't see the logic of the update. So having said that, Trump does, and he's live. So let me go over to Trump. Let's see what Mr. Trump is saying. I have no idea why he's live right now. I think it's for some announcement. But let's pull it up.
You've got to save Chicago. We're going to wait a little while. But he said, you got to save Chicago. You can't let it go. And this is a very prominent man that everybody knows. And this is from another man in Memphis was saying, Bill, he was saying, very interesting. He's on the board of FedEx. And his hotel is about a block away. And he said, when I walked there, I said, you know, I don't want to do this again. I never want to do it again. And they won't let me walk there. They take them in armored vehicles. They take the board members of FedEx and armored.
Okay, guys, he's not talking about business or finance or anything like that. He's establishing a Memphis task force. If anyone wants to watch it, I can put the link in the chat. But yeah, there's not any like business or tariff stuff or anything else that I think we need to see as investors. So we'll see. When he does Q&A, we'll probably get a better understanding of like what he's saying or like different questions that they're talking about. But so far, we don't have that yet. Are you planning on using Robinhood Social? I'll see when the product comes out. Obviously, I'll definitely get into the app and like use it and see what it looks like. Am I planning on actually like posting it every day? I don't know. I got to see what the dynamic of it looks like and kind of what happens, but we got to see. Amit is worried he'll be out of business when he won't be able to talk about earnings for every obscure company all the time. Okay, so obviously as someone in the media, I would love to report and analyze companies every 90 days. Like, yes, I'm not going to hide that. I mean, all of us that care about the market, that are enthusiasts about the market, we probably want as much information as possible. But it's genuinely, dude, it's not about like having something exciting to talk about. I'm a real investor with real money inside of real companies. I would like to have an update every 90 days. Like, that's not that crazy in my opinion. And if you're a big boy company, you got to be able to every 90 days communicate to, by the way, these insiders that sell and that have massive positions and that, you know, that you hear insiders that just make $10 million in a day because they were able to sell 20,000 shares, 30,000. Like, they do that because we, the public, buy those shares. The reason we buy those shares is because we think there's more upside for us than there is for the insider that has been in that company for a longer time that we've likely been investing in it. So we deserve to get as much information as possible to know that the transfer of equity from the insider to the institution or to the retail investor is actually an accurate representation of that transfer in a way that there is legitimate upside. 84% of you say every quarter. So it's not even about just like the earnings excitement or whatever. It's genuinely like, I want to know how Robinhood's doing every 90 days. I want to know how Palantir's doing every 90 days and not be surprised 2 times a year to see the results. Like, I feel like that's just not making that much sense. Obviously, yes, I would like to get daily reports, but that's not, but I'm not being ridiculous. Like every day, every week, every month, I need a report. Like, no, but every 90 days is not that crazy, bro. Like, obviously, a company cannot do monthly reports. Like, I'm not expecting, but every 90 days is not that aggressive. And so why did Trump tweet that today? That's my question. Is he getting lobbied by someone that wants less? Like, is he launching a company and they don't want to report? Like, where did this come from? It feels like it came out of nowhere today. And I am very curious why exactly Trump put out that statement. But eventually we are going to have to see. Minutely earnings starting tomorrow. Yeah, it feels like lobbyists, right? It feels like there's some type of lobbyists that are trying to get him to not do it every quarter. Ultimately, I don't think this is going to change. I think we're going to keep it every quarter. If I'm wrong, then I'll live with it. I mean, it is what it is. What else do you do? I just think it would be very radical, dude. It's been 80 years with every quarter. So for them to change that overnight, that would be a bit aggressive. And for everyone saying, oh, well, it saves companies money. Dude, like if a company can't afford to get audited every 90 days, they shouldn't be public. It's just that simple. If you cannot afford to pay KPMG or Ernst & Young or Deloitte or PwC, whatever couple million it takes to get audited, like you shouldn't be public. It's just that simple. Like that actually gets rid of the crappy public company. If you can't afford a public auditing of your stock, why are you public? I just don't think that's the craziest argument in the world. Google right here, 251.45. That is up still 4.5% on the day. SMCI has entered the chat. The problem is SMCI could afford it. They just they had some shady shit going on. They could definitely afford paying Ernst & Young, but Ernst & Young didn't even want to take their money, which was the worst part. Tesla, let's get an update on what's going on with Tesla. Obviously, Elon Musk bought a ton of it on September 12th, and I want to get everyone's thoughts on what they think about Tesla and Elon Musk buying $1 billion of it.
Explaining
as long as it's only for a moment.
I am defining for you how trend-following systems right now are implementing in the market, and they're real. They're a powerful effect. So if you look at Tesla's stock, I mentioned before, analyst community only had 44% of the analysts which had a buy rating on it. On September 4th, the stock gaps above 340. The stock gaps above 340, and that's your trigger signal at that point. Why? Because concurrent with that, at the same time, you have the moving averages turning up for the very first time. The 50, the 100, Bryn understands what I'm talking about. The 50, the 100, it turns above the 200-day. So simultaneously, this happens, okay? Now for the remainder of the week after September 4th and 5th, the stock never goes back to 340. What do you have sitting above? You have the May 29th high at 367. Everyone that respects price sees that and is now pushing towards that level for the breakout. And that's exactly what happened. This is a classic momentum move. I'm sorry to the viewers that want some fundamental explanation. And guess what? Elon Musk bought his stock on Friday, after all of this actually unfolded. So it's a classic example of a powerful combination of technical forces coming into play. And when you look at the Mag 7, this had 3% short interest. That's greater than any other of the Mag 7 names.
Okay, Weiss, then I'm going to let you respond.
Look, there's no, Bryn's been great in the stock. We disagreed, I think, around 200 and change. And
180.
it is now 180. Okay, 180. But you can't disagree with the fundamentals. The fundamentals have been atrophying. But it's a cult stock, and I've not been shorted. I shorted periodically here and there. But valuation makes zero sense. Robots, humanoids. It's a crowded space already. But you've got a company, another company, private company, literally has no revenues that's now trying to raise capital at $38 billion. And so it's bizarre. And
He's talking about Figure there.
That's what people are looking for, the next great thing. Tesla's sales have atrophied also. So robo-taxis, that's crowded before they even launch them. So what do you own here?
I don't know. Maybe you're not owning Tesla. Maybe you're owning something bigger than that, right? You're owning Elon Musk. You're owning the future. You're owning
That's
innovation.
the last thing I want to own is Elon Musk, frankly.
All right.
So,
Brain, go ahead.
So I think it's important. I think Joe did a great job of walking through exactly what happened from the momentum perspective, and I couldn't agree more. Let me share some catalyst, right? And so last week, Elon spoke at the All-In Summit as well, and so I think this is important. So the geofencing with the robotaxi is I think they have about 150 robotaxis between Austin and San Francisco. The geofence continues to get bigger. He is saying by year end, there will no longer be supervised drivers in there. So that's a positive catalyst. Also, right now inside of Teslas, you have the AI4 chip. They are finalizing the AI5 chip, which he said is 40 times, not 40%, but 40 times faster with 8 times the compute. And he said by year end, you're going to get a version 14 update to the Tesla, which will be 2 to 3 times as safe as a human driver. And so from a catalyst perspective, and on top of that, I think you're going to have a big pull forward in the Q3 numbers because the EV credits are going to go away. And so I think they're going to have a big beat on Q3 EV sales, which probably will mean revert in Q4 because I do think it's a pull forward. So there are definitely clear things that happened last week to help continue Joe's momentum push and then, top it off today with, Elon announcing he bought almost $1 billion. I do think that 440 is like rarefied air. I'm not adding to the position here. I think that you will see a settling in after, in the next couple of months because we're approaching.
So here's my question. Who thinks the Tesla run today, which kind of faded towards the end of the day, is BS? Who thinks it's real and who thinks it's BS? That is my question. By the way, guys, I have a missed call by somebody. Let's see if they pick up when I call them back. I will ask him the same question I asked you guys on if it's real or BS.
What's up, superstar?
I am live on the market close.
Oh, you're back to work. Look at you.
I'm back to my day job. I'm back.
Look at you.
I tried to be a professional traveler, explore the world, and that didn't work out, so I'm back.
You don't even know how to travel, right? So it doesn't matter.
That's true. I don't know how to travel, right? So
I mean, the fact you got an Airbnb with a bunch of people is ridiculous.
Dude, that Airbnb, it was decked out. It had a swimming pool. It had a freaking poker table. It was legit.
Mm-hmm.
It was legit.
Sure.
Someone said, why do they call him the milkman? Because he always delivers. Exactly. There you go. Oh, well, we know why Robinhood was down today. There you go. Vlad sold 3.5 million shares today. That's a big one. $403 million. That could easily explain why Hood was down today. Now, the fact that the stock was only down 2% off a 3.5 million share sell-off is actually not too bad. But yeah, Vlad made some profits today. Steve, have you seen Tesla stock price today?
I was asked if I could write something about good old Tesla for this week.
From what? Seeking Alpha?
Seeking Alpha reached out to me.
And they want you to write about Tesla.
Yeah, I told them I'd have it ready for Wednesday.
Okay, so, well, hold on. You got to give us a preview then of what the hell you're going to write about, because not only is Elon setting up to get $1 trillion, I'm sure you saw the news, Elon bought $1 billion of Tesla stock himself at $389 on Friday. So bullish or bearish? What are you thinking?
So I probably shouldn't say what I'm about to say because I have no proof. Don't know the guy. This is all my opinion. It's all my perception. I think Q3 earnings are not going to be good. And I think he just bought it because it was $1 billion. It's going to make a headline. It's going to make it pop. And I just think he did it preemptively because I don't think Q3 earnings are going to be good.
Wait, why don't you think the earnings are going to be good?
I just don't think they're going to be good.
But you realize that they're likely going to sell 500,000 cars because the EV credits are going away, right?
Okay.
I mean, that's the definition of a pretty good. I'm not saying that that's sustainable, but not going to be a horrible quarter.
I am not convinced that they're actually going to sell that many cars. I also, going forward, was running the numbers at Tanner last night, and I'm more convinced that robotaxis is not going to be what everybody thinks it's going to be.
Now I know why you're getting better. You talked to Tanner. Now I get
it. It's nothing Tanner said. I ran the numbers last night on robotaxis again, and I'm not in that camp. I don't see it. I really don't. And then I ran the numbers on Optimus based on Elon's interview with Jay Cal and the gang at the All-In Summit. And if they sell 1 million robots, 25,000, okay, it's $25 billion worth of revenue. Let's just say they have a 50% profit margin. Probably not going to have that, but let's just say they do. Let's say it's very profitable. That's $12.5 billion in net income just from that.
Okay.
between that and the cars and their other businesses, they still won't be doing what Nvidia does in 3 months, in an entire year. I don't think it's.
Okay, so you don't like the valuation. That's simple argument, right?
Yeah, I don't know. I can't make the numbers work to where this makes any type of sense.
Dude, I don't think anyone can make the numbers work to make this. I'm not blaming you on that. I'm just saying that the stock price action definitely indicates some aggressive.
Yeah, I'm glad
excitement.
that everybody's making money. I'm happy.
Okay, so do you think this comes tumbling back down to 350, or?
I think it's warranted. If it happens, it's a different story. I think a lot's going to depend on the earnings call.
Yeah, I think that's fair. So obviously, you would rather buy Nvidia than Tesla at these levels.
Yes, absolutely. It's not even a question. Like, I'm more convinced that Nvidia's forward momentum and the build-out phase is going to last for another 3 to 5 years, if not longer. And I was originally at like 18 to 24 months a year ago. I think we're going to get a very big extended timeline. And I think it's because when you look at Oracle, Oracle's now getting in the game. They're going to do $37 billion of CapEx this year, or I should say next year. You got CoreWeave increasing their backlog by 81% year over year. And you got Jensen saying that the big four are going to spend $600 billion in 2 years annually. When I look at the roadmap that was in the deck, the more I look at it, I would rather be buying Nvidia here.
Okay. So then my next question based on that is, what are you doing with your covered calls? Because they're becoming more expensive to roll every day. Oh, you have to make a decision by Friday.
That's a great question.
I feel, all right, put in the chat what you think Steve's going to do you think he's going to let them get called away at 260, or do you think he'll roll? I think you'll let them get called away, to be honest.
I am kind of feeling like I'm going to let them get called away.
I knew it, bro. I knew it.
So I'm going to give you my reasoning.
You just hate Elon, bro. That's okay.
No. I have a different reason why at this point. I think rolling for 2 years is not worth it at this point. And God forbid I get hit by a car or I fucking pass away. I don't want my wife having to deal with that shit. Like, I'm trying to unload all my fucking long-term options.
So you are going to let your shares get called away because you think you're going to get hit by a car in 2 years?
No, I'm just saying, one of my good friends passed away very young a couple months ago. You know that. And the more I look at it, I'm just like, you know what? I don't know what the future is going to hold. And I can use that money to invest in somewhere else and make it back. Not worried about that. So God forbid something happens in the future. I'd rather not have this account tied to all these long-term fucking options.
Steve, so. I love you, but long-term options based on your health seems to, I think you should just say you don't like Tesla. Like, you have covered calls on other names that are a year out, or like it's something could happen to you next week. Like anything could happen.
Exactly. I'm trying to unload all these positions.
Okay. I mean, I think you should just say you don't think Tesla can be 500 in 2 years, even if you can roll up to it, right? Like,
no, Tesla can be much higher than 500.
I mean, no, it could, but you don't believe it will, is the broader question.
I mean, I didn't believe it was going to be here.
That's true.
I mean, when you start looking at what the market cap is, like if you look at the market cap versus the other top 10 companies in the market, and you look at their profitability versus everybody else, it's a joke.
I don't disagree. The numbers are horrendous. I'm just saying, the dude bought $1 billion worth of stock himself. Like,
yeah, but what was the reason that he did that? I mean, really, I think it's for the headline. I don't think $1 billion matters to him. I think he did it because he knew it was going to drive the price up, and he had to do it before the quiet period happens. I just don't think that the next couple of quarters is going to be that good, and he just decided to do it.
Yeah, no, I definitely think it was the headline, but I also think dude, he hasn't bought shares in 5 years. I think for him to put up $1 billion bet before his compensation package. I think he wants people to know he's not doing this whole American Party shit anymore. Like he's fully invested in Tesla at this point. Also, I think he wanted more voting rights, and I think if he has more ownership, that like there's a bunch of reasons, but I think he thinks the stock is going to go up.
I hope it does for everybody's sake.
Yeah, I mean, look, it's fair.
Can we talk about your buddy?
Who? Mark Benioff?
Your buddy, Mr. Benioff?
Okay, cool. This was my next topic because this guy cannot stop talking about.
Should I tweet him? Should I send him my article I wrote about Salesforce?
Well, let me just play the 50-second clip for everyone who hasn't seen it yet.
Oh, is there a new one?
Oh, you didn't see the one from Friday?
No.
Well, listen and hear what your boy has to say.
Seems to be, an idea out there, and you see it in the valuation of the company, Palantir. This idea that that's the future of software. It's disrupting software, and it's doing so without a marketing team.
Oh
Your
my
thoughts?
gosh, I am so inspired by that company. I mean, not just because they have 100 times, multiple on their revenue, which I would love to have that too. Maybe it'll have 1,000 times on their revenue soon, but the prices that they charge to their customers, I mean, it's got to be the most expensive enterprise software I've ever seen. I've been like looking at their demos this week saying, my gosh, how do they get these prices? Because I thought I had analytics. I thought I had data management. Maybe I'm not charging enough.
And you're competing with them.
We compete with them. In fact, we just won a huge deal at the U.S. Army against them.
Seems to be,
Why is he whining like a little girl about Palantir, bro?
I just tweeted at him.
What did you tweet?
Or posted that. I just sent him my article and said I think Salesforce is one of the most undervalued places.
Yeah, you need to tell him to stop being a little bitch, bro. Like really? Oh, maybe Palantir will get 1,000 times sales. Like, why is he first of all, he can feel whatever he wants and talk however he wants to talk. But does it not feel like a very loser mentality, the way he's speaking about the fact that he's saying Palantir charges 10x more than us, but they're getting more deals? How is that not proving the argument for Palantir is more valuable than Salesforce? At least for the government.
As the CEO of Salesforce, I don't like the fact that he is saying this publicly. Now, as a shareholder of Palantir and as a shareholder of Salesforce, I have every right to say whatever I think about the valuations of both companies. I don't think that Benioff should be saying it. That's my own opinion.
Yeah, and look, when Karp talks trash, it's usually backed by something real, which is why he gets away with you can't talk trash. Look, Michael Jordan talks trash because he was like the GOAT, right? When Benioff...
No, hold on. Michael Jordan is not like the GOAT. He is the GOAT.
I struck a chord. Oh, yes, the GOAT, right? Like, but my point is, you have to be elite to talk trash because you have to back up the trash talking. Benioff's stock is not backing up the trash talking. No one cares about Agent Force. No one even knows what the hell Agent Force is. The analyst, did you see the information article today? The information article reported that Benioff on an analyst call told the clients or told the analysts, and quote, guys, our company is not in a crisis. Which the analysts never implied that the company was in a crisis. So I don't know, dude. This thing has just been a mess. I do think the stock will recover because it's too undervalued to not, but I am very confused why he's trying to get a 100x multiple like Palantir. He will never have a 100x multiple like Palantir.
No, he's not. I don't think he's trying to get a 100x multiple. I think he's questioning why Palantir is getting a 100x multiple and why people are expecting Salesforce to have the same growth rate as Palantir when it does 11 times more revenue and a ridiculous amount more profitability.
Yeah, but so, I also think he's not realizing there is interest, excitement. There's a cult around Palantir. There's people that actually care about the mission of the company. What is the mission of Salesforce?
No. I think that he does realize that, and he's jealous that there isn't a cult about Salesforce, except for the people that actually use it. I mean, look, I think that the Dreamforce event's going to be big. I think they're going to showcase a lot of things, and I think that you're going to get a couple of quarters of CIOs and technology departments increasing their spend with Salesforce. The question is the market going to respond? I don't think so. I think Salesforce is one of the most undervalued plays. I think it's the new Alphabet. It's trading at 16.5 times 2027 earnings. I mean, it is unbelievably cheap right now. There's a company that's doing $12.5 billion in free cash flow. It's too undervalued. But
no, I agree, but
no excitement around it.
But him complaining about Palantir's multiple to me is just
it's a bad look. I don't like it. It's a bad look. I don't like when CEOs do that stuff.
Yeah, I've never heard Karp complain about a company's multiple. He's complained with analysts about not understanding his business, but he's never
which is different.
Which is totally different. But he's never been like, oh, this company has this multiple, like, because Karp's so focused on himself and Palantir, Yeah,
I mean, look, the big difference right now is Palantir is an amazing company. Take the valuation out of it. There is not a single blemish on that report card. Not a single blemish. Everything is firing on all cylinders. There's some of the greatest metrics we've seen out of a company. You can't say anything bad about it. It's just got a valuation that's very rich. Whether it's deserved or not is besides the point. I think it's getting to Benioff because I think that he's looking at it as, man, we're growing our revenue by more revenue in growth than Palantir does in a single year. Yet Palantir has a bigger market cap, and I think it's getting to him. And he's getting annoyed by it, like other people, but other people just aren't being public about it. And it's something that I've said before, that my brain cannot understand why a company that's doing $3.5 billion or $3.6 billion, whatever it is, in revenue in the TTM, has a larger market cap than a company that is at $40.5 billion that just grew their revenue on a year-over-year basis by more than what Palantir does in the whole year. My brain can't understand that, but I think it's not a good look for Benioff to actually come out and say it.
Before I ask about Google, what do you think about Trump tweeting today that we should have not quarterly earnings reports, but like 2 times a year instead of 4 times a year?
I think that would be a horrible idea.
Okay, thank you. I felt like I was going crazy and okay, why do you think it would be a horrible idea?
Because it keeps everybody honest. It allows shareholders to, not that it keeps everybody honest, but it allows shareholders to understand what's going on with the company for shareholders that actually are interested. I mean, shareholders of publicly traded companies have no contact with these companies unless you actually send an email to investor relations. And for a publicly traded company, I do believe should report on a quarterly basis because it allows you to understand what the company is doing, that you have your money invested in. I don't think there's any reason that they shouldn't. It's kind of crazy to think that we would go to 2 times a year.
It's been 4 times for 80 years. I think if we did 2 times, the world wouldn't end, but it would definitely change the way people invest. And I don't know if that's a good thing or a bad thing.
I don't know if it would change the way people invest. I think it would change how much people pay attention to things.
No, I think it would legit change the option and traders flow of a market because they have less data to make trades.
Look, I think more data is important, and I think transparency is important, and allowing shareholders to have a look into what the numbers are and what the projections are and how companies are doing is important. I really do.
Yeah, I agree.
So
I think it would just be
ridiculous. I'm not in favor of it.
Yeah, I agree. Google 250 all-time highs. I mean, this one's got to feel sweet for you.
Yeah, I mean, I'm pretty happy. I still think it's undervalued, and I still think it's one of the best companies, and it may be the most important AI company. And we're in a position where I think it's going to 290. And I think I said fair value was 292. So let's see if it gets there. I think it can.
Do you think this run on Google is just people waking up, or is it more Gemini, Siri stuff? What do you think is causing it?
I think a lot of people were on the sidelines or just keeping their core position until this whole antitrust thing was over. Now that everybody knows that it's not getting broken up, I think that it's off to the races and people are actually getting excited.
Yeah, I agree.
I mean, it's remarkable because I'm not an investment professional, right? But not for a single second did I ever think they were getting broken up. Who thought that? Who actually thinks these things?
I mean, well, the market definitely felt there was a shot, which is, why it traded as low. But I agree. Like the S&P is up pretty strongly over the past 2 weeks, and that's largely because of Google.
But do these people not pay attention? Do they not connect the dots? And maybe they don't. Maybe they don't listen to All In. I mean, it's one of the most important podcasts to listen to besides yours. That
I appreciate.
You got David Sachs as part of the freaking decision-making process as a crypto and AI czar, and he flat out said on the All In podcast that one of the worst things you could do was to break up these companies because it would be against national security, and we would potentially fall behind China and our adversaries because all these parts work together for these companies and give them a strategic edge. So just by listening to that, you know that these guys are going to be lobbying to not break any of these companies up. And with him in a position where he has the president's ear and he's in charge of AI, what were the real chances any of these companies are getting broken up? 5%?
I agree. Did you see another stock today that was up almost 3%?
I really didn't see anything today, so what was it?
It's similar to Google because it starts with a G. Grab was up 3% today.
Good for you.
Okay, I'm just letting you know that, it's up 3%.
I hope it goes to, what do you need to go to, 15?
I need to go to 10 by January 2027.
It'll get there.
But don't you want to be with me to have it get there?
Nah. you can go solo on that
one. Dude, I don't get why you're just not on this train. I feel like you're doing it to troll me at this point. It's not even that serious, bro.
I will tell you, I'm getting very interested in Next.
Oh, of course you are. Of course. Like next, right? The next stock. We'll just move on to the next thing.
Now that it's down so much in the past week and a half.
Okay, so this is next decade. This is natural gas, correct?
Yeah, I need to look into it again, but I'm getting very interested.
I think I saw a headline that the CEO bought a couple million shares recently.
I'm going to plan on looking at it. I know they have a new presentation out, so I'm planning on looking at it tonight when I go home.
Do you own this one already or no?
Not yet.
Okay, I know Matt Money is big on this one. I think I'm pretty sure Chris is big on this one.
Yeah, this is a 3 to 5 year play.
Yeah. Matt, you got to do a Cash Flow Chronicles update with Chris so we can. Oh, yeah, look, insider Matthew Schatzman bought $2 million worth of it at $7.14.
Okay, nice.
Okay, there you go. Matt said it's almost like I've poked Steve on this for months. Matt, trust me, I feel that one day maybe Steve will say what he just said on the phone, which is that he's looking into Next. Maybe one day he'll say that about my stocks too, but I guess it takes some time.
I do look into yours. I just don't like Grab.
You haven't even done DD on it.
Yeah, I did a little bit.
No, you didn't. No, you didn't. You're lying. You saw I was in Singapore and you were like, oh, I don't like outside companies.
Exactly.
That's not due diligence, bro. If Howard Marks is buying 50 million of Grab and you don't want to look at it, I don't know.
So let me ask you this. If we're only going to get 2 reports a year instead of 4, does that mean we're not going to get all these 13F filings?
It's a good question. Do we not get 13Fs if we don't get freaking... I mean, like, my point is, why not do it once a year then? Why not do it once every 2 years?
Oh, no, don't put that idea out there.
No, but I'm saying it's absurd, right? Like, if we don't do it quarterly, why don't we do it once every 3 years? Like, what's the difference between, it's like, where does the line end for people if they want to be so aggressive on not sharing information?
Yeah, I mean, I don't think going biannual is a good idea by any means.
On the stock draft, Matt is up 27%. I'm up 22.5. Tanner is up 16. Steve, you are up 4.5. and Chris is up 8. So right now, Steve, you are in last place, largely led by MSTR, CrowdStrike, Salesforce, and PayPal. But I think a lot of those can switch pretty quickly.
How about Micron?
Micron. Oh, yeah. Now you're up on. Wow, dude. You're up 30%. That happened pretty quick. You were down on that for a while. Yeah, that one had a nice little pivot.
I'm really starting to think that a lot of these companies can really do well. I mean, the more I look at it, I really think Nvidia is going 225, 250 next year, if not higher.
225, 250 next year.
Yeah.
And how did you come up to this number?
Because right now they're on a run rate for about 110 billion net income this year. Maybe more, depending on what the growth rate is. But think about it. They just projected 54 billion for revenue for Q3. They did a 56% profit margin for net income. If they maintain a profit margin in that neighborhood, they're going to generate 30 billion in net income for the first time, breaking the 3 level.
Right.
I mean, and if the growth doesn't stop, that means that you could next year get 140, 150 billion in net income, and the EPS numbers are significantly lower than that run rate. So I think that you're going to have to get a lot of analysts upgrading their targets.
But you think 200 end of year is also very possible, right?
I do. We have one more earnings report this year, and I think it can run into the end of the year, especially with rate cuts.
Oh, yeah. We actually get 4 earnings reports this year, so we do have one more. I forgot. It's nice to know.
Yeah, earnings season starts, second, third week of October?
Yeah, we're basically 3 weeks away.
It's always right around the corner.
And that's, obviously, as someone who covers the markets, I like that. But genuinely, as someone who also invests in companies, I want to know how they're doing every night. Like, I don't think that's crazy to say.
Can I tell you what I think is crazy?
What?
That people that invest in companies don't read the earnings reports.
Well, look, I don't think that's that. Like, my sister has never read an earnings report. Like, I would say most people don't read earnings reports. But for them not to be available is the issue. Like, for them not to actually be required by law to be given is because what if someone does want to start reading the earnings reports? Like,
yeah, exactly.
You would need the data.
Exactly. And now we're going to get earnings reports from the treasuries, which is going to be very.
Oh yeah, are you buying more BM&R?
No, I may be buying a lot more BM&R next Monday.
Dude, I mean, I think we started buying heavy, you, me, and Tanner at around 40 last week. So, or not like 2 weeks ago. So, I mean, it's done well since then, up 20%.
Yeah, I mean, look, I may use 25 or 50% of the money from Tesla and buy BM&R.
Wow, you're gonna swap Tesla for Tom Lee?
Yeah, I think there's a better risk reward there.
I can't disagree with you. I think you're right.
How about this? I may even go a little wild and maybe I'll take 5% and just buy spreads also.
Okay, I will give you $500,000 if you actually buy spreads on BM&R, because you're not doing it, bro. I know who you are. You can't buy 2 shares of a speculative company. You're not buying spreads on this thing.
Watch me.
You're not doing it, dude. Wait, but not just one spread. We need like a real position.
Yeah. I mean, think about it. It's all from profits on Tesla, right? So why not?
Okay, if you actually, I'm not going to give you $500,000. But our boy Chris went pretty heavy in spreads on BM&R on Friday, like $100,000 worth heavy. Are you going that heavy in spreads?
I'm going to buy some spreads.
Dude, if you put $100,000 into BM&R spreads, I mean, I would respect it because you don't usually do that type of stuff. But
I mean, let's just say that I don't know if I have that much testosterone running through my body, but I'm going to buy some spreads.
see, this is the thing with Chris. When Chris gets bullish, he goes so heavy on a name. It's one of the things I've learned from him. It's like if you're really bullish, like you go for it, you know? And he's thinking this thing gets to 100 by January of 2027. Which,
I mean, this thing could be 200 or 300 by then.
I mean, if ETH really makes it. So Tom Lee says Bitcoin to 200 by the end of the year, ETH to 12,000. Do you agree with any of those predictions?
So we were talking about this last night on Tanner's channel. I don't know how to value either of them, right? Bitcoin's just a store of value, so it's greater fool theory. It's whatever somebody's willing to pay for it. But ETH, I mean, there's all these different verticals, and when you look into that, the issuance is a maximum of 1.51%, and the net burn off or the net issuance over the past couple of months is 0.09%. And then I don't know, because I can't find it, how much gets burned off in each transaction with a stablecoin usage. So I have no idea to backdoor my way into what the deflationary rate is going to be, or if it's even going to be deflationary. I mean, theoretically, it could be when you have MasterCard, PayPal, and Shopify building their stablecoin on layer 2, and then you have Circle building it already built on layer 2. So it could absolutely become deflationary, and with more utilization, I think it'll go up in value. And then with Tom Lee and these other people buying this much around the clock, I don't see why it wouldn't go up. It's just I don't know how much it can go up. You know, it's not like we have an earnings report where I can say, all right, well, they're doing $10 billion in free cash flow. If you put a 20 multiple on it, which seems like a lot of companies get, you know, it's very hard for me to wrap my brain around it. So I look at it like this. If Bitcoin's a $2.5 trillion asset, I think Ethereum is more important. There's no reason why Ethereum can't be a $2.5 trillion asset.
Yeah. No, I
so
think
what
that
is
argument,
it? So what is that? 5x from here?
Basically, yeah, 4x. Oh no, 2.5 to 5x, yeah.
So that's the way I've been looking at Ethereum.
That's fair.
Is it going to get much bigger? I don't.
So you're swapping Tessie for Tom Lee.
You know, we may be swapping Tesla for a combination of things.
What else would be on your list besides?
I think the combination of things is going to be Nvidia, BMNR, and ETH.
Nvidia, BMNR, ETH. What about Hood? When are you buying Hood?
Half best never.
Dude, why are you such a hater, bro?
I'm not. Why would I buy it here?
Because it's going higher eventually?
It could.
I mean, it has a good shot too.
Yeah, sure.
So why not buy it?
Because I don't see it going to 200 anytime soon. So if I'm looking at from what can double from here, I don't think Hood doubles before Nvidia.
You don't think Hood doubles before what?
Before Nvidia.
Hold on. You think Nvidia? So what? Nvidia would have to be 8 trillion before Hood is 200 billion.
Yes.
Okay, put in the chat. What do you guys? Nvidia to? I don't know if I agree with that one that easy.
How many financial institutions are $200 billion?
Dude,
4?
Hood is not a regular financial institution.
Okay.
It's just no. It's honestly, bro. It's not. Like.
Okay, great. But if you're talking, tell me what Bank of America's market cap is and what their net income is.
No. Why, Steve? This is where you get so dogmatic, it becomes weird to listen to some of your analysis sometimes. Why would we compare Bank of America's net income to Robinhood? Like, in what world is that even? Like, what?
Just saying, for Robinhood to start getting to those levels, their profitability has to significantly increase.
Yeah, but with 40% operating margins, their profitabilities, they have better op margins than Bank of America. By far.
I'm not saying they don't. Not saying they don't. I'm just saying that I think Nvidia can double before them.
But an 8 trillion over Hood to 200 billion, like, I mean, look, it's definitely possible. I just think 8 trillion, like another 4 trillion of value compared to another 100 billion in a bull run where Hood's making hundreds of millions off crypto. That I don't know. I think I give the nod to Hood there.
Well, we'll see, because the big are just going to get bigger. and they're not stopping at 5 trillion. Same way they didn't stop at 500 billion or 1 trillion or 2 trillion.
Yeah. So you haven't even seen any of the Nvidia China stuff today.
No.
Honestly, it doesn't matter because they got like the China said they're a monopoly, and then they were down 5%, and now they're barely down like 0.2%. So you kind of don't need to even know any of that stuff.
Oh, cool. Trying to call somebody a monopoly. Who cares?
Yeah, basically. But not
something I care about.
The other reason Hood gets 200 billion first, but Bank of America does not have, is tokenization.
That I do agree with. That I think it's going to be much bigger than what I anticipated.
Because if you're bullish ETH, Robinhood's building on ETH, but tokenization is something that expands their TAM dramatically. Now, Bank of America probably will get into token. They're going to have some type of tokenization or stablecoin element to their business.
Were you at the Robinhood thing with Tanner?
Robinhood thing with Tanner? Yeah, I was in Vegas. Yeah.
Tanner told me about what he freaking said to them.
Said to who?
I don't know. He said to somebody there about me that I think Robinhood's a Mickey Mouse thing, and I would never use it for anything but crypto because it's cheaper.
He probably did. I don't know who he said that to, but yeah, he probably did say that to someone.
I thought that was hilarious. But yeah, I mean, listen, I can't believe how much cheaper they are than everybody else for crypto.
Yeah, and that's why I think you should buy stock in it, to be honest. But who knows?
The real question is, where's SoFi going? What's my exit going to be?
Okay, so this one, do you still have covered? You don't have any covered calls on this, right?
Nope.
Okay, so you have.
I almost wrote some today for 30 for the end of the week, and I'm like, that may not be a good idea because this could run on Wednesday.
So what do you think? 30, 35? What do you think?
I don't know. I don't know where. I mean, I don't know where this can go. I really have no idea. I'm trying to figure out what my exit plan is going to be. Or if I even need one at this point.
Do you think the rate cuts are the obvious catalyst here? I mean, for it to break out to 27 today, it was pretty incredible.
Rate cut. It's not about what the number is. It's about what the state is. If you get rate cuts plus a dovish statement, I think it's going to explode.
Yeah. Wait, so hold on then. So today, or not today, Wednesday, FOMC, is it a sell the news to you, or is it a market is happy we have 25 bips?
If they go 50 and are hawkish, we're going to get a drastic downturn.
So there's a 4% chance for 50.
Yeah, I want 25, and I want a neutral or dovish statement. I don't want a hawkish cut because that's going to spook the markets. I think 50 and a hawkish spooks the markets because of where unemployment is.
What if it's 25 but hawkish?
I think it's going to be a sell-off.
Yeah, I think it's got to be a dovish 25 with Powell being like, hey.
Neutral's fine too. It doesn't have to be dovish. Neutral's fine. We just don't want him spooking the markets about unemployment because he would be right in a sense. Unemployment's up 90 basis points over the past year or so, or a year and a half since the lows. And every time you get to 1%, either a recession has just started or it's about to start. Every time, without fail. And with the narrative around AI, robotics, and self-driving, I really don't want a hawkish cut.
Yeah, I agree. Do you in general think that the hawkishness could come from the fact that labor market is getting weak and Jay Powell could cut and say, hey, we're cutting because we're afraid of the labor market, not really because we're cutting because things are
A-okay? Yeah, absolutely good.
Yeah, that is my biggest fear for Wednesday. Now, I don't think it stops corporate earnings, which is where I think we get the...
No, it's not. It's not going to stop corporate earnings, but it is going to create a narrative that's not pleasant.
But that's the thing. Like, look, if earnings don't suffer, this whole hawkish labor market nonsense is literally nonsense. Like, if earnings are good
until it's not, because then you will get some companies that it doesn't matter for, but a lot of companies it will matter for, and that's going to be a problem.
If the labor market becomes that bad, right?
Yeah, I mean, think about it. Amazon, maybe, but Alphabet, no, it's not going to matter. Meta's not going to matter. Nvidia is not going to matter. Microsoft is not going to matter. But a lot of companies, Coca-Cola, Pepsi, maybe it matters. Procter & Gamble, maybe it matters. Home Depot, Costco, Walmart, Target. There's more than 7 companies in the S&P. And a lot of companies, it may matter. And that's not good.
Have you seen this chart going viral about Cisco and Nvidia? A bullish argument about Nvidia?
No, I haven't.
Okay, so it's Cisco. It's Cisco being framed as a bubble, but their price and their earnings are going down as the stock goes down. It's Nvidia going up, and their price and earnings going up. And it's gone viral because people are like, "How is Nvidia a bubble or like Cisco 2.0 if the price and earnings are going up with the stock price?" Which didn't happen to Cisco. So, I mean, to your point about Nvidia not being affected by a lot of this stuff, as long as their price and their earnings can keep, or as long as the earnings can keep inflecting, the price will probably reflect that.
Yeah, the thing with Nvidia is you have more companies spending on chips. So if that's not stopping, and they are now segmenting out to algorithms, software, networking, I'm not worried about it. They have a lot of verticals.
Yeah, I agree. I think the 3 biggest verticals, self-driving, robotics, and personal agents, those have not even begun to touch the surface of what could happen in the next 5 years.
Agreed.
And all 5 of those should be super bullish for NVIDIA. I took Arnie and Amir on an FSD drive yesterday for an hour, and they were pretty impressed. Like, it's not easy to just be on the highway and for the thing to make no mistakes.
Good.
So, no, I agree.
Good. So what are you looking into? You must have a new thing you're looking at.
I'm actually not, bro. I've honestly been traveling so much for the past couple weeks. I haven't really I bought a little bit of Iran, so maybe I'll do some DD on that data center. Okay, so 2 things I told the audience. Number 1 is in November and December, I think you and I should have a series of a couple of episodes on how to plan portfolios for 2026. The basic sort of crux of the series could be how you're thinking of next year and how you're thinking of positioning, hedging, all this random stuff that people have to worry about. Because I have a lot of ideas on what to think about going into 2026, so I think we should plan that out. But number 2 is I think 2026 is going to be the year potentially of all these small data center plays like a Nebius, an Iran, a Cypher, a TeraWulf, etc. If the hyperscalers keep increasing capex, a lot of that money is just going to go to those names, right?
Yeah. I mean, look what Microsoft did.
Yeah, $20 billion to Nebius was, dude, that's your whole year. If you were in Nebius, even at $50, your year is done. You've crushed it.
But think about it. Microsoft is doing that because they can't organically build on their own as much as they need.
Because it's too much demand.
That tells you everything you need to know about NVIDIA.
Yeah, I think it tells exactly what you need to know about NVIDIA. And I do think there are some energy infrastructure. If we don't get a recession in 2026, which I hope we don't, then there's got to be some more opportunity. And look, with a risk-on Fed, I think we're more likely to get a bubble versus a recession in 2026.
I don't know about that.
When I mean bubble, I'm quoting what Evercore said, which is hey, if Trump really gets rates down to 2% in a year, everything's going up.
Well, that's not a bubble.
Well, it could quickly turn into a bubble. And very quickly it could. Now, obviously, if earnings are good enough then to withstand, then it doesn't matter. But I think we have a bubble before we have a recession, is my point. unless the labor market gets so destructive. But then again, if we lower rates by that much, hopefully that doesn't stop the labor market from getting.
We need to get rates to 3% to incentivize entrepreneurship.
Yes, I would agree.
Because that's going to be how you combat a lot of things.
Yeah, I agree.
We'll see if we get there.
All right. Well, Steve, thank you for joining. I'm linking your Twitter and article in the chat.
Yeah, I mean, seriously, I know you don't like Salesforce. I know you don't like Benioff. It is one of the most undervalued tech plays there is.
Look, I agree with you. I think it's undervalued. I don't disagree with that at all. And I think it probably goes up. It's just what Benioff's been doing has been kind of weird the past couple of weeks. But
you know what? You know what I started calling Mr. Carlson?
Oh boy, what?
His new name is Sir Joseph Carlson. That's how everybody needs to refer to him.
Sir Joseph Carlson?
Yes.
Why?
Just because.
Dude, why? Like, this beef has got to be done with. It's like not even that serious. Coming up with nicknames for the guy, tagging his bots. Like, this is beef that we got to put an end to.
I mean, there is none. I did put a little something about Costco in my Nvidia article.
All right. Thank you, Steve. Appreciate it. Here's Steve's Twitter in the chat and his article. I will talk to you probably soon on the market open in a couple of days.
All right. Later.
Later. All right, folks. Trump live answering questions. Let me go over to that, and then we'll keep going from there.
It's highlighting all of the violent crime in that city. So they have no problem reporting the crime, but when you show up to solve it, they're going to run around town looking for that one person that says, we don't want Donald Trump in our city. What can you say to the media there in Memphis, Tennessee, to help let them know people want you there in their city?
Well, I'm not sure they found that person, because I saw them doing some interviews and it looked like they were looking, but they were very, in fact, that producer and that person, I think they lost their jobs because everybody was saying, we want Trump to be there. They want the people right here to be there. Look, it's very simple. In Chicago, they're getting beat to hell. They're being shot. If you lose 6 or 7 people die over a weekend, they consider that a successful weekend. And when you consider that a successful weekend, that's pretty bad. I had the president of Poland here a few days ago, and we had a news conference. Many of you were here. And I made this statement. I said, we're very happy to announce that it's been over 2 weeks since anybody's been killed in D.C. And he looked at me like, is that supposed to be good? He's looking like, what kind of a place is this? And now it's been a long time. But and as I was saying it, I said, I'm not sure if that sounds good to somebody. It sounded great to you, but it doesn't sound good to somebody from a country where they don't have violent crime like we have. We were like, gee, I don't want the national government.
Yes, given with all the that's going on with Charlie Kirk's assassination and the left wing, a lot of left wing violence going on, do you have plans? And actually, this is a great opportunity with all these people. Do you plan on designating Antifa finally a domestic terror organization?
Well, it's something I would do. Yeah, if I have support from the people back here, I think we'd start with Pam. I think, but I would, if you give me, I would do that 100%, and others also, by the way. But Antifa is terrible.
Are there other groups that you can think of?
There are other groups. Yeah, there are other groups. We have some pretty radical groups, and they got away with murder. And also, I've been speaking to the Attorney General about bringing RICO against some of the people that you've been reading about that have been putting up millions and millions of dollars for agitation. These aren't protests. These are crimes, what they're doing, where they're throwing bricks at cars of ICE and Border Patrol. And they come in with a beautiful new car. They're so proud. It's Border Patrol, ICE, it's got whatever it is. And they're throwing rocks at it.
JD Vance was on the Charlie Kirk podcast today, and he hosted the entire show. So, yeah, I'm assuming we'll get a lot more news on that entire situation. His wife did put out a message over the weekend as well. And I think Trump said he will be attending his funeral later in the week.
Yeah, sure.
And one on Charlie Kirk. You've floated potentially going into St. Louis. You mentioned you want to go into Chicago next. Could St. Louis be after Chicago?
It's going to be around there someplace. Yeah, we got to save St. Louis. Got to save these cities. This isn't like, we're going to do something. We have to save St. Louis. We have to save Chicago. I know all about Chicago. I have a great, beautiful building. I'm so proud of.
All right, so pretty much this Q&A was all about, we'll see if there's any other questions. It seems like most of it was about the violence MOU that Trump signed today. I don't think there's anything. I think there was maybe a question about TikTok. Let's see right here. If not, then we can move forward as well.
Speak to you directly to alert you that Israel was going to be striking Hamas sites in Qatar?
No, it didn't.
Okay, so a lot of geopolitical stuff. We'll get some of those quotes later, but yeah, that's what we got from Trump. I think the main market news that Trump made today was about TikTok, and China kind of said, hey, we have a deal coming out with TikTok soon. Or they said we've reached and established a framework on TikTok. But so far, there's nothing officially confirmed. Now, this chart I thought was also really interesting. I didn't share it on the Market Open today because I forgot, but take a look at this. So this is Europe, Japan, and the United States. The United States chart is the S&P 500 without Nvidia. And as you can see, from October 2022, the bottom of the bear market, to April of 2025, if you take away Nvidia, Europe and Japan actually outperformed the S&P 500. It's kind of crazy. It's kind of going back to Steve's point on how aggressive Nvidia has been in terms of adding market capitalization to the S&P 500 to the tune of $4 trillion. It's 8% of the S&P 500. Without Nvidia, Europe and Japan take over, which is pretty wild. By the way, does anyone know? Okay, let me ask the question for you guys in the chat. Does anyone know why Ashiba, the prime minister, resigned? Do you guys know? Because the Nikkei, which is Japan, basically like Japan's S&P 500, it was up like 2% the day he resigned. And I mean, now he's not there. No clue. Okay. So I found out this weekend, and I was quite surprised because I didn't fully understand Japanese culture. But there's a variety of things that led to it. Now, there's a bunch of arguments, a bunch of details. Those that understand Japanese culture are a little bit better than me that understand what's happening. But Amir, his wife, is Japanese. He's actually moving to Japan. So he's well-versed in a lot of this stuff. And apparently, Ashiba came up with a plan to import 500,000 Indians from India to help Japanese labor force. Right? Okay, Griffin Capital got it. Yep, Griffin Capital got it. Kind of like what Europe's doing, right? Not necessarily with India. Europe's going more in the Middle East. But they said, hey, Japan, people are not having babies. People are living longer. They have 3x more deaths than births. So the prime minister was like, hey, let's import a lot of immigrants to help with all of the jobs and manufacturing and all the shit that we have to deal with in the country. And the country revolted completely. The country was like, there is no way you are going to let hundreds of thousands of people that do not understand our culture, understand our way of life, understand this. I mean, the way Amir was explaining Japan to me was that it's a trust-based society. So like you leave your phone on the street and come back a week later, that phone will still be there. Or that phone will be reported to the proper authority so that you can get your phone back. Like it is not the type of cutthroat, individualistic society that exists in the United States. One of the reasons Amir is moving to Japan, quite frankly, is because of a lot of the illegal immigration that's starting to happen in Europe and how it's kind of just changing the overall ability for him to be safe and raise his half Japanese, half Swedish daughter in a safe environment. So, I mean, it was quite incredible. And so why did he resign? Because like you could have a bad policy idea and then just like, okay, people don't like it. Apparently in Japan, when you dishonor yourself, you have to like take a dramatic action. You have to resign. You have, at least if you're in like a super big position of power like Ashiba. It's like very meticulous that if you quote unquote dishonor the culture or the society, that you take a bow out and you leave. So that's why, I mean, there was a couple of other reasons, but that's the main reason why he resigned. And it was quite fascinating to me because what we're seeing in Europe is the exact opposite. We're seeing a lot of these European officials embrace immigration. And, their entire argument is diversity, equity, inclusion, all this stuff. And the Japanese people were like, nope, we don't want that shit. Like, we don't know how to deal with it. Those people are not going to understand our culture. They're not going to understand our way of life. So why would we include? Now, granted, the economic reality of Japan might catch up to Japanese citizens before their desire to have a sort of monopoly on their culture, given like if you don't have the jobs, then products and services won't be built. But it is very interesting to see how the dynamics are playing out. And I don't know exactly how Japan is going to eventually end up at the end of this. You have to cut your finger off of you. Dude, Amir was talking about that thing. Like they have a lot of weird rituals about the way you deal with dishonoring and stuff like that. So Superbox, thanks for the $20 super chat. Why is Eric Jackson trying to start beef with you on Xmit? I don't know. The guy subtweets me like 10 times a day. So I don't know, dude. It is what it is. I think he's been wanting me to respond to his tweets for like a couple weeks. I don't want to respond to his tweets. I don't want to talk to him. I don't really care about engaging in a conversation. So he can keep tweeting about me as much as he wants. It's quite comical the amount of times he tweets about me per week. But I have zero interest in talking to him or having a conversation. He wants attention, guys. He wants attention. I'm not going to give it to him. So it's ironic. It's kind of like the Benioff thing, right? As someone keeps talking about you, it's like they're thinking more about. I do not think about this guy. I quite frankly don't care. I'm happy Open Door's going. I mean, like, good for him, right? He's making money. I'm not in Open Door. I don't care about being an Open Door. I don't know why he's so upset that I just don't like the thesis. And I think the community is more about the stock versus the company. And hopefully the new CEO turns it around, which give him a year. Maybe he does. And maybe Open Door becomes a great story. But I'm just not in it. And I think he hates that I'm not in it. But it is what it is. I'm not changing my mind. I'm not in it. So he can keep tweeting about me. Mumblewick says, I think about you. Thank you, Mumblewick. I appreciate it. Dude, I realize as you get bigger, bro, like, and your brand grows, like, you just have to deal with people saying whatever they want to say. And it's like, you have to ask yourself, is there any authenticity to I kind of went on this rant last week on the Sunday Future Show, but it's like, think about Elon. The amount of people that tweet nasty things about Elon every day has to be in the tens of millions. If we're on Blue Sky, it's pretty much every single user. So it's like, it's like you just have to be okay with knowing people are going to talk shit about you. Usually, if there's no meaningful reason for them to talk shit, then let them keep talking shit because they continue to put your name out into the world. And ultimately, it helps me more than it helps him. It kind of makes him look kind of weird for talking about me so much, but there's just nothing for me to talk to with that guy. And so those are my thoughts. What do you think of SMCI? I don't like their margins. I love their growth, not their margins. I know a lot of people wanted SMCI to be a big bet this year. It just didn't end up working out, bro. Wow, grab 619 after hours. Is she really going for it, bro? Is she really going for it? Is she really going for it? Mitt moved into two places, rent-free. Dude, I just think at some point you have to pick and choose your battles. And this is not a battle. This is not something that's the one thing the more you engage with something, and this I had to learn this the hard way. The more you engage with something, the more fuel you put on the fire. 621. Okay, after hours, catching a little bit of a big bid above 620. And if you just choose to not engage with something, 1 million shares traded after hours, by the way, 1 million shares of volume. Then, I mean, if you choose to not engage with something, then it either dies out or the person that's trying to get you to engage eventually gets tired. And if they want to keep trying to get you to engage and you just don't listen to them. I mean, the biggest thing you can do to a narcissist is not respond to them. The biggest thing you can do to a narcissist is not respond to them. I've had a couple of experiences in my life with narcissists, actually. I've actually done some deep analytical research on narcissism as a concept. because I've had a few experiences with a couple of them over the years, and the way they think, the way they act, the way they interact with the world, the necessity they have for attention and how they can never be wrong. It's actually something you can psychologically dissect easily, and then you can realize, oh, that person's a narcissist. So engaging with them is just going to give them what they want. And the easiest thing to do to piss them off is to not engage with them. But eventually they also realize, well, maybe there's no point of continuing to think about that person. Engagement is currency. Exactly. Exactly. And again, dude, if you're making money in Open Door, that is fine. My contestation of the thesis has simply been, I don't see the margins improving. I think the stock has 10x because of hype, not fundamentals. That's okay. There's plenty of people that can make money off something, but I just choose to invest in something that I understand on the fundamentals. And that's it. Like, it's not that serious. I have no hate or envy in my heart. I have no FOMO, that's for sure. I think I've moved on a little bit as an investor from having FOMO for massive plays like this. And so if they turn it around, and the company does well, but I just don't feel like me being part of the story makes sense when I don't think there is a meaningful reason behind the company, but there is a big movement around the stock, which is fine. Grab 622. 622. She is moving just a little bit after hours. Not too bad. Not too bad at all. Yeah, own what you know. And look, you got to give props to Eric Jackson because he bought Open Door at 50 cents and then started this whole campaign to make it go higher. I just think that, again, a lot of the reason it went higher is because of hype, not fundamentals. And that's just my belief. But obviously the people that invested in it felt differently and they've done very well. So it is what it is. But I don't think there has to be that big of a antagonism between us. So those are my thoughts on it. And for those that are Eric Jackson fans and are hearing what I'm saying and you're going to go, oh, look, Amit said this. It's like, you can go ahead and show them whatever you want. Like, I don't want to talk to the guy. I want to move on with my life. I just don't feel interested in talking to the guy. That is what it is. And so that's how I'm going to live my life. And if he wants to keep talking about me, he can feel free to do whatever. It's a free country. He can keep tweeting about me. But at some point, tweeting about someone that genuinely does not care about you, I mean, I don't know. It is a bit weird. Wow, 624 after hours. Huh. It's quite incredible, dude. Quite incredible. My hair specialist appointment is on the 24th. Guys, don't expect a new hairstyle overnight, okay? This shit takes time. I don't even know if I'm gonna be able to come up with one. But the 24th, it's scheduled for a Zoom appointment. And we're going to see. Now, I am feeling confident. I've looked into a bunch of different styles that we got something coming up soon. But it's going to take some time. This is how Joseph Carlson feels about it. No, dude, honestly, dude, I love Steve, but this is exactly how Joseph Carlson feels about Steve. Joseph Carlson is like, dude, I don't really care about this guy tweeting essays to me about Nvidia over Costco when I was kind of joking, kind of not joking, so I don't care. Steve takes it personally. And I told Steve this. I'm like, dude, Steve, it's not that serious. You can move on. But he's like, nope, the dude blocked me. Now Steve's personally affected. So I don't know. Maybe when I said Eric Jackson is not my cup of tea because he said that God put him on this earth to pump Open Door, and I was like, I don't want to talk to it. Maybe he got offended by that. I'm sorry, but I kind of just don't want to talk to someone who thinks that God literally put him on this earth to pump a stock. I don't want to talk to that person. And if he's upset I said that, then he can be upset I said that. But that is not my goal. Wow, 629, 630, 630 after hours. Another couple 100,000 shares. It's low volume. It's not crazy high volume. But 630. 630, okay. Not bad. Not bad for Grabby grab. Dude, there's no news. For everyone asking what is going on, I really don't have news. I really don't. Iran's almost 38 after hours. That's incredible. If I had news, I would let you guys know. I really do think it's yeah, Iran almost 38. I think it's something's about to happen. So I just don't see 2 days of 100 million share volume off retail hype. I don't think it's retail hype. I think there's something deeper. But we're gonna see. It's kind of also, to me, it's like kind of surreal because I'm like, look, I think it deserves to run, but like whenever it actually happens, you know, been through it twice, and when the run happens and you're watching it happen, it's always a surreal feeling every time. When you pick a stock, you do the research, you go through the pain of holding it. Maybe this thing dumps back to 550 and we have to deal with that. But if it actually is breaking out and making its move, it would be quite incredible. Because then the question becomes, how big can they get? If they get to $10, that's a $40 billion stock. If they utilize their cash to grow inorganically or through M&A, then maybe that justifies more than a $10 stock earlier than my price target would suggest. Like when it gets into the momentum phase, we've seen this with Robinhood, anything can happen if the company's willing to really, you know, execute at a high level. And we got to see. If it was retail hype, it would have run months and months ago when you first started making this call and started getting play on X. Yeah, I agree. Like, I don't think it's retail hype. It would have started making its move. Like the retail hype in February was way higher than the retail hype now, because I don't even think there is retail hype right now. I mean, I think there's people that are talking about it more, but it's not necessarily retail full-on hype. It is exciting, though. That is exciting. We got to see. 3-year base is huge. That is correct. We got to see. Amit, I agree with all your bets except for Grab. I lived in C, and I just don't see anything that could propel this company higher. You know, that's been one of the toughest parts about this this album, is that a lot of the music is being played in a country that I don't live in. And so I'm not able to directly listen to the music. I have to get firsthand experience. I would just say I respectfully disagree. There's some people I talk to in Southeast Asia that are totally against Grab. And there's a lot of other people that are like, dude, no one can live without this shit. So I have to, as an investor, figure out the conflicting narratives and ask myself which ones have merit, which ones have value, which ones have data, and then which ones are a little bit more biased towards their personal experience with the company. And I've concluded that the ones that think Grab is a piece of shit in Southeast Asia are people that just had a bad experience, or maybe they just don't enjoy the product or service, versus the, I would say 95% of Southeast Asians I talk to that say it is inevitable this company was only going to grow, get bigger, define their moats, build their brand identity, all that stuff. And so Grab is crazy, bro, but I'm bullish. Dude, I don't know. This is the most risky out of the 3 albums so far. Like Palantir, there was a whole community, and like in hindsight, it seems so obvious. Hood, in hindsight, it really seems obvious, but also I got to use the product every day, and Vlad's just a, you know, Vlad's a monster. This is a company in Southeast Asia. I trust management, but I don't obviously understand management as well as I understood Carper Vlad. And I'm leaning heavy on my ability to dissect qualitative storytelling of where the super app thesis goes with the quantitative metrics that seem to be inflecting in my favor. It's either going to work or it's not going to work. But then getting Howard Marks on board, that also really gave me a lot of confidence that I'm not the only one who sees the undervaluation here. You got Howard Marks that sees it's clearly undervalued. But now the scary part about Grab now is that now if it doesn't make a run, like if it doesn't actually move above, call it 750, people are going to get bored and upset. And that's why when it fell to 560 today, like I was just like, oh shit, it's over. It was a fun Friday, and then it's Grab. It goes back to being, you know, just stuck. And then it came back and it recovered. And I'm like, oh wait, there's life. But it's gotta I think it's gotta establish the 750 base by the end of the year for people to really think there's an opportunity here. And I don't know how easy that's gonna be. Does it actually get to 750 in a month? Does it get to 640, then 650, then chill out at 630, then maybe get up to 680, then it needs an earnings, and then maybe it sells off on earnings, then comes back? Like, I don't know. You just never know how these stories play out. But eventually we're going to see. Charles said, I travel to the Philippines once a year, and Grab is the only reliable transportation app. It's literally 1/10 the price of Uber. Yeah, dude, it's a freaking $25 billion company with $8 billion in cash. Like, I think there's a broader argument here. And again, Anthony Tan, like, I just think the secret reason why Grab should win is that they are focused on becoming profitable. Damn, it's already 6 o'clock. I didn't even notice that. They are focused on becoming profitable by focusing on the most vulnerable populations. And when you focus on getting profitable by helping the people that don't have anything to, rely on in terms of income, family, GDP growth, all this stuff, like, it's tough. It's really tough. So, but to build a profitable enterprise off that, starting from the people that are at the bottom and then scaling that up, I think that's very, very exciting. This was Anthony Tan on one of his latest podcasts about his leadership style and how he runs his companies.
In the early days of Grab, I understand, like, you put all your money into the business. You're working 20 hours a day. You're talking about the hustle there. Has the job gotten any easier? Or is it just different now?
Bob, my hours haven't changed. 13 and a half years later, I still wake up, for this interview at 6 a.m. I finish work at 11:30. Look, the reality is, it doesn't change, and I don't want it to change in the sense of, I still love, every week, my assistant, now I can afford to have an assistant, really has been able to tell me, in 26 weeks of the year, you traveled for 25 weeks. Because I need to go to the ground. In the early days, I was by the large monsoon drains that were really smelly, pounding the table, screaming louder than the competitors to make sure we were recruiting drivers, having, the local chocolate milk to, incentivize them to sign up with us. That hasn't changed. Last week, I was still with drivers, learning from them and getting scolded. Not much has changed.
You have so much passion about this, and certainly your expectations are high. Are you hard to work for? Like, I mean, you're demanding.
People would say very high intensity. They would say, but I do believe in this concept. I come from a faith that believes that you can come out as a lion and be proud and be fierce, and you're willing to chew anything in your path, but at the same time also sort of have the humility of a lamb, and so I always talk about, how do you be really bold but have tremendous empathy? A lot of times you're wrong, and I'm wrong, and that we're a constant work in progress. So I think it's like showing love all the time and caring for your people, while at the same time holding a really high bar, because you love them, because you want them to do better, because you believe that customers expect much more from us, and society wants to see many companies that have triple bottom line fail. So you got to prove to them that a triple bottom line company can not only survive but thrive.
So what's at stake for Grab right now?
What's at stake? Lots at stake. We have 13 million drivers and merchants registered on Grab. We are probably one of the largest enablers of jobs. We need to hold ourselves to such a high bar. We must thrive and help them along this journey to really be embraced in an AI first, in a AV hybrid world. And the best way is to start early, invest in them now, even before AVs are here, and reflect those values in every decision we make every day.
Well,
dude, I caught the Anthony Tan bug back in January of this year. That's when I I felt he is a leader. He is someone, first of all, he gave up his entire relationship with his father to build Grab because he was so motivated to do his own thing. And then the way he talks about employees, culture, the way he talks about caring about the most vulnerable in Southeast Asia, which is really hard to make a profit off of people that don't make you any money. Right? The fact that Grab's doing it is not easy. And I think it's a testament to how hard they've worked and how much they've been able to build a business. Like, I just think all those avenues come together along with the financial metrics, and this thing is probably $10 by 2027. And, you know, even from here, that's a good return. And obviously, if you got in below 5, it's a decent return. So when are you going to interview Anthony? I don't know. I would love to. I haven't reached out to like the Grab PR people yet, but I would definitely want to reach out to them and see if I could. But eventually we got to see. Bro has the same laugh as Amit. Deep inhale. Exactly. That's one of the reasons that I like this guy. Okay, everyone. Yeah, so I see all your comments right here. I've been getting tagged on Twitter a lot about this. Yes, I see that the channel is close to 100K. We are about 800 subs away, 900 subs away. Yeah, as soon as I said it, boom, there's another comment. I've been seeing these comments all day. Look, I'm excited for 100K. I don't think it changes anything really about the channel. Just gonna continue doing what I do. We'll get a fancy plaque from YouTube eventually. I don't know if they send it like a year from now or something. But no, I'm very grateful and excited for it. But I'm also just like, I don't know, bro. I'm tired. It's been a long year. It's definitely been a long 2 weeks. I am tired. It's one of those things where it's like, you know, one of those things where you reach a milestone and then you get to the milestone and you're just like, instead of being so excited about the milestone, you just look back on all the work it took to get to the milestone and you're like, I don't even want to talk about how it happened, why it happened, how it almost didn't happen, how the multiple times on how it almost didn't happen. I'm just happy it happened, and that's it. And that's kind of how I conceptualize 100,000. Like it's not the same excitement when Palantir hit $100. Like that's like, it's like, yes, there we go. You know, we did it. It's not the same excitement because it's just like, you know, obviously I work for Palantir in terms of creating all the content and all that stuff to help educate people on the message and build my brand. But I didn't build Palantir. I wasn't an employee at Palantir. So for them, I think it feels so much different. And to an extent, when you like, it's the same thing I asked the Robinhood and people like, hey, when you got into the S&P 500, how'd you get? A lot of them were just like, yeah, we were happy about it. But it's like, you know, we just moved on. And I think it's the same thing about this 100K. Like as cool as it's going to be to see 100K, it's also like, all right, we got to move on. I have a lot of ideas to innovate with content on the channel. I want to make things better. And I don't want to get super complacent just about the 100K. I mean, that's how I felt with my wife when I paid off her home in 4 years. Yeah, right. Like once you finally, first of all, paying off your home in 4 years is incredible. But like once you do the thing, you're kind of just like, all right, I did it. And I move on. And I don't like stress too much about how I did it or why I did it or how it happened. So yeah, but I'm very grateful for it, obviously. Very, very great. But I've also had this feeling for a long time, dude. I didn't celebrate when I hit 200,000 on Twitter. Like I really don't like celebrating the numerical milestones. I like acknowledging it, but not like making a big deal out of it. Because it's like, you know, you still have to keep growing, right? This doesn't stop here. So as cliche as it is, it's like, it's just the truth. In any form of ambitious upward trajectory, it's like you have to be looking towards the future. And you can stop to smell the roses and acknowledge what's happening right now. But it's also like, if you think you can be a lot bigger than where you are right here, then you gotta just keep going. But I am genuinely tired over the past 2 weeks, bro. Like I'm genuinely tired. And I don't think I've been like tired for a while. Yeah, hopefully we get the plaques. I don't know when we're getting the plaque. I feel like it takes a long time, so it might take like a year to get there. But 100K stylist, 200K dentist. Dude, we got to see also, dude, I want to get healthy. The biggest thing about now having a routine and staying at home and not hosting people, not going out, not traveling, is I think in the next 3 months, I can have a radical shift in terms of my health. That's eating, working out, sleeping on time, everything. Like I really, really want to commit to taking it very seriously. And so honestly, that's what I've been thinking about more than 100,000. I've been thinking more about like I remember when I was doing, when 2022, when we were at like 9,909, and I remember I was at work, not like actual work, but like the consulting clients that I used to work for. And I remember like just being in the corner and like waiting for that number to hit 10,000. And I had a video planned for 10,000 and I was ready to post it. Like it was so much hype and shit, right? Now it's just like, dude, the number one thing I care about is health, and you know, everything else is important, but it's not like the most anticipating thing that I need to wait for. Yeah, it's also not work when you love it. You know, Arnie asked me this question today before the show. He was like, do you still love doing the show every morning? Do you still enjoy doing it? And he was like, are you just doing it to do it, or do you really enjoy it? I was like, dude, honestly, I really, really enjoy doing it. Like, I hate when I can't do it. And I don't know if that's gonna be the same 10 years from now, because you know, life changes, wife, kids, not husband, wife, and kids. But I don't know, maybe in 10 years, I still do have the motivation. I've come to the conclusion personally, my birthday's next month, so I've been doing a little bit more introspection. And like, I think what I love to do is communicate and research and then communicate my research. And every single day, twice a day, all you're doing when you're analyzing the markets is researching and then communicating your research. Yes, wife, not husband. Sure, right? All the comments, sure. Dude, it was so funny when we were literally walking down the street, Bo. We were walking down the street, me, Amir, and Arnie. I don't know what he said, but I was like, guys, you know I'm not gay, right? They both stopped and they were like, we didn't ask about that. I don't know what triggered me to say that. And I was like, all right, I'm just letting you guys know. And they were like, dude, that sounds pretty gay that you have to tell us you're not gay. I'm like, no, dude, like actually, like I know what the chat says every day, but I'm not actually. And they're like, it kind of sounds a little sus. That was hilarious, dude. It was like, they're really funny guys, bro. We really laughed. We had a good time. We enjoyed ourselves. It was great. I took them out to a bunch of different places around where I live in New York, and it was good. Hopefully we can do it like once a year. But it was fun. That's trying to get validation. You're definitely gay. But no, in general, it's like what was I even saying? I was saying that the how do we even get to this topic? What was I saying before the gay thing? It was, oh yeah, like if you get a wife and kids eventually, like I don't know if the motivation lasts, but or just like the ability to literally do what I'm doing every day is possible and tangible. But I would imagine it is because again, I love research and I love communication. And I've realized with these albums, I really like this frame of mind. I think there always need to be mental models on how you construct an idea. And there's actually, speaking of mental models, there's a segue I have to talk about in a second. But these mental models are really important to kind of approach life. And you know, one of the biggest mental models I have around thinking of my career as a stock market content creator is like, it's a form of art when you present an idea. I know it's super cliche or cringe to say this, but like, obviously it's not music or like paintings, but it's a form of art to present an idea that you are creating, right? The definition of creativity is you're creating something. So Palantir, the research on that is my form of art. Robinhood, the research on Robinhood is my form of art. Grab, the research on Grab, and again, you don't know if the art is going to be successfully received as beautiful art or horrific art, but it's my form of art. And I like that as a mental model, because when you have that as a mental model, you really start caring about the art, AKA the research. And that makes the show better. That hopefully makes the stock picks better, at least the stock picks that like we definitively say, hey, like I'm taking a big position, I'm going long on this. And it makes the quality of content better. And I just think over the next 10, 15, 20 years, that is what I want to do. I want to continue producing this type of art. And hopefully you have more good art than bad art. But I don't see myself getting tired of that anytime soon. But the numerical milestones, the reason we even started talking about this to get to this topic, is the 100K to me is just more validation that that art is being received in a nice way. Not something to like go over the moon celebrate for, because you always have more growth that you can achieve if you want your art to continue to grow. And so those are my thoughts. Now, speaking of mental models, Arnie had this good idea. We were at the World Trade Center and we were looking at the skyline, and he had this idea. He introduced this concept to me, and I don't want to say the concept yet because I don't want to spoil it, but it's a concept on how we both found Palantir and Hood. And when he said it, I was like, holy crap, that's like a legit like idea. It was basically like he said a statement that kind of summarized Palantir and Hood as companies and why me and him found them when they were $7. And then I came up with the phrase, and he was like, wait a second, that phrase culminates into what I'm trying to communicate. And we were like, bro, what if we put out a white paper? What if we like take a month and write like a legit white paper on the similarities between Palantir and Hood? And because both of them, it's hard to deny how similar they've been over the past 2.5 years. And what frameworks we used to find those companies at the time. And can that establish a model to find, quote unquote, the next Palantir or Hood, or at least a framework to find the next unicorn that is out there? Because we really talked through some of the principles, and we were like, bro, if a company cannot match this, there's like 10 of them, like, dude, it doesn't even have a shot to be a Palantir and Hood type of company. And Grab, I don't think really fits into those 10 principles. Now, I think Grab can do well. Again, I don't know if Grab's the kind of 10x return the Palantir and Hood are, but like, if I think the white paper would be useful for people because we can kind of like make it into a legit PDF and get a lot of people to like download it and read it, and maybe it can be passed around across the entire world, right? It's better than like a video or just like a random Google Doc, and maybe it would help other people come up with a framework for how to find those two names, because there really are a bunch of similarities, bro. Like when we actually write this paper, there's a lot of things that when you look back, and there's one main thing that I don't want to spoil by saying, but there's one main idea that is 100% Arnie's idea. I just came up with the wording for what we should call the idea. And the idea makes so much sense. And I'm like, holy shit. Like we tried to poke a hole in the idea between Palantir and Hood. We couldn't find any holes. We were like, dude, this like applies explicitly to these two companies. So yes, founder DNA is definitely part of it. But yeah, I think we're gonna come up with that hopefully by like November and put that out there. Maybe you can plug the formula into an AI. Yeah, maybe. Who knows? Maybe that's how it ends up playing. I mean, this is what Vlad's been saying so much about like AI as people have been misquoting him. Vlad's been saying, hey, AI will take away jobs, which means people might end up like investing for a living. And people are like, oh, that's like BS. Like not everyone can be an investor. And I think that's not what he's saying. He's saying like, hey, people might not have any choice but to figure out a way to allocate capital if at the end of the day, labor becomes like commoditized. And so I think there's a really kind of unique way that Vlad is thinking about it and how he's ultimately trying to bring access. This was Vlad on the Olin podcast talking about kind of how Robinhood philosophically thinks about expanding financial services.
Private, I don't think we can do that.
How do you think about, the one criticism people have had, which is, hey, we have got a young generation, they're frisky, they want to take all this risk, they want to bet, and your responsibility as a platform that is giving that access, if you're the on-ramp, the education you give, and I remember with the options and people being able to short, you came up with an incredibly elegant solution. When you try to short something, you give people a test. You give them education in that moment before they do it. So how do you think broadly about young people getting into wagering? They're playing cards, they're betting on fantasy football and doing sports betting, but they also want to, have their hand in crypto and in puts and calls and pretty sophisticated stuff. So what's your responsibility as a platform then in introducing them to those sophisticated ways of betting and investing?
I have a lot of thoughts. Actually, when you interviewed me for a job in 2008, which by the way was the only, it was one of two like final job interviews that I got. Most people just rejected me. I never even got a call from Google or any of the others, but it was either Weatherbill, later Climate Corp, or Optiver, where I interviewed to be an options trader. So I got very, very close.
We had a math team.
Yeah, yeah. I got
what
very,
was he
very
like
close.
in the interview?
You probably don't even remember.
Take
You remember
us back to that day.
Alex Michalka?
Of course, yeah.
Yeah. I think he was.
He's
he
gonna
was
love
like
the
my
shout out
hiring
right
manager.
now.
I forget my recruiter's name, but that guy was great. Anyway, and then I became an entrepreneur. So it might not surprise you to know that me personally, I'm sort of like adverse to control on the level of risk that I would take, because my entire career path was sort of like maximally levered bet on one company, which is the one that I started. So I would be reluctant to discourage people from being entrepreneurs, to doing what they want to do with their money or time. Of course, I'm in favor of like reasonable things, like it should be clear to you what you're investing in. But yeah, generally speaking, I think if it's available to wealthy people, high net worth individuals, it should be made available to retail as well.
Let me broaden the conversation. It used to be historically we would have banks, we would have brokerages, we'd have payment processors, we'd have merchant acquirers. They were all disaggregated. They could all be public. They could all build thriving companies. Now, with stable coins and everything else, there's this creeping convergence. You're issuing a credit card. Coinbase has a credit card. SoFi has a federal banking license. Stripe just launched a new L1 called Tempo. Everybody's competing with everybody. Tell us the scope of where you think Robinhood goes in the next 4 or 5 years, and what the financial landscape and infrastructure looks like. The Visas, the MasterCards, the JP Morgans, what roles do these companies play as you guys just become more and more ambitious and girthy and big and, you know, market cap and all that stuff?
Yeah, I think the industry.
That was quite the choice of adjectives by Mr. Chamath. Quite the choice of adjectives.
Industry goes through periods of consolidation and then divergence. I think Robinhood has a unique advantage, which is that our customers put an increasing amount of their dollars into Robinhood. So what we're thinking about, and it became pretty clear to us as soon as we rolled out our second product, we kind of saw what happened. Customers spent more time on Robinhood. The two products help each other. So for example, with retirement, we noticed, you know.
By the way, Hood disclosed today that they have 22 billion AUM on retirement, which is up like 100% year over year. So that one continues to grow.
The big question was, well, if we launch retirement, is it going to cannibalize the core brokerage business? But what we saw was the opposite. If someone opens up a retirement account, they tend to actually increase the amount they put in their individual account. And we saw that again with the credit card. If they're a credit card primary user, top of wallet, they actually put more money into Robinhood. So then that gets us to a future where we ask ourselves, can we be your comprehensive financial platform? Can you put your direct deposit into Robinhood? Can you put all of your money into Robinhood? Can you get to gold subscriber premium status as soon as possible? And then can we get all of your family members onto Robinhood as well, and your kids? So yeah, I don't think anyone's really thinking about it from that angle, but I think that there's going to be over 130 trillion that changes hands from silent generation and baby boomers to younger people. And I think Robinhood's actually very well positioned to be one of the, if not the number one primary institution that benefits from that transfer. We've got over $250 billion assets on the platform already, which seems like a big number, but it's actually just a drop in the bucket compared to what's going to happen.
Where do you see the JP Morgans and the MasterCards and Visas? How do they compete with an elegant product with hundreds of millions of users that just, you know, the product velocity that you have, the risk you're willing to take?
Yeah, I mean, I think that if you think about an incumbent, they have certain benefits. They're like very muscular from a regulatory standpoint. Like they know how to deal with regulators. They've got global scale. They've got, tens, hundreds of millions of customers, lots of assets. But the disadvantage is that they're sometimes slow to adopt new technologies. They don't have the best engineering teams. They can't move very fast. And they can't hire the best talent. And so I think that we don't have those downsides. We have great talent. We move really quickly. We use the best technology. We haven't been super acquisitive historically, even though we're doing more. And that prevents us from being bogged down by these like massive integration things that take multiple years. And so it's a question of, can we get the benefits of scale while also maintaining the nimbleness of a technology startup?
Do you want to give the audience, before we run out of time, maybe last question, but tell them about the LLM you guys are building? This is
okay. So, yeah, I mean, look, I think there is a really, really big, exciting future for Hoodie, and they're not slowing down. They are not slowing down. It's just so exciting because, like, obviously it's a retail company and it's not a retail-driven stock. Neither is Grab. Grab's not a I mean, again, Robinhood's like 75% institutional. Grab's like 84%. Palantir was a retail-driven stock. Those two are not. But so many retail investors are attracted to the story. And that's why it's kind of been cool to just see the story kind of play out in front of us. Grab right here, 622 after hours. The LLM they're about to talk about is Vlad's startup, Harmonic, which is like a math LLM that he raised some money for. And dude, I think that company could become a really big company as well. So, I mean, Vlad might go down as one of the greatest entrepreneurs of all time. Because if Hood gets to $1 trillion, I think he's there. And then, he's too ambitious. He's probably going to start a bunch of other companies along that catapult on top of it. So there's a world. There's a world in which that ends up playing out. You're saying AMKR is pumping? Okay, so this thing is up 9%. I think Tim Cook talked about this, which is why it's getting some love. It trades at like one-time sales, so it's not an expensive stock. Here's what Tim Cook said about it, which is why people might be getting excited.
Will serve companies like TSMC, which will provide the fab for the product, for the chips, and then Amcor, another company that's located in Arizona, will do packaging. And of course, Applied Materials is very key to the.
So Amcor, that's the company pumping 9% after hours, based on that endorsement by Tim Cook, not endorsement, but just basically him saying what Apple's going to be using for the Kentucky production. And that's why that's getting some love as well. Yes, hopefully we can use Robinhood to buy Harmonic tokens. I would imagine Vlad would tokenize Harmonic, but we got to see in the future if they end up doing it. All right, folks, I think that's it for me. I will be back at 9:30, so in less than 3 hours with Tanner and Roy. And we will be talking about the Hood Summit and a recap from the Hood Summit. Probably we'll touch on Nvidia. Tanner is getting a bit more bearish Tesla at this valuation. And we'll get Tanner's thoughts on Elon buying $1 billion of stock and kind of see how he's thinking about that. But we'll be back at 9:30 and we will keep going from there. So there you go. 8 hours of yapping and he's still not done for the day. That is the grind. The grind. Not grinder, but the grind. But no, genuinely, like I don't mind the 8 to 10 hours of yapping every day. I just want to have the ability to do it on my own terms, which is not in like some random hotel. Like, okay, I want to have everything I need to conduct the yapping. And I just want to be able to do it in a routine. And now it seems like we're back to doing it in a routine, which is good. So that's it. How did you grind for the past 5 years every day? Genuine question. I think the genuine answer is when you catch a little bit of lightning in a bottle, you realize how hard it is to capture that lightning, and you want to continue keeping it in the bottle. And metaphorically, that means you have to keep working hard, right? So, yeah, I mean, like, I don't know, the journey to 100K. We started YouTube end of November 2021. I know my channel says it started February, but realistically, it was like end of November. So it's been what, 3 years to 100K in the finance niche. I don't know if that's relatively slow or fast compared to other finance content creators. I do remember I hit 1,000 subs in like a week and a half in November 2021. And that was, dude, that 1,000 subs in like 15 days was honestly just more exciting than hitting 100,000, because that's like no one knows you on the world. And then you're like, 1,000 people know me. It's like that. That's just like, whoa. And all of that was based on Palantir content, right? And just like me talking about this stock that I put 25 grand in, and I was seeing if anyone had cared about that same company. And that rate of growth was like really fast. In my opinion, I was like 2 weeks to 1,000 subs is like pretty damn fast. And then it was just a question of like, all right, there's no rules to this. Like, how do you scale that? Like, what content do you create every day that's valuable? The stock's not moving, so why would people even watch your content? Like, there's so many obstacles and hurdles and all that stuff. So the answer to how did you consistently do the grind over the past 5 years is you didn't know what would happen, how it would happen, but you just believed something would happen. And then you put in the work to make sure that when the opportunities presented themselves for something to happen, you would be in a prime position based on all the hard work to take advantage of those opportunities. Which is not specific to YouTube. It's just, you know, specific to life in general, right? Just got to work. You just got to work. Yeah. So keep the faith, but also keep the faith with essentially what I'm trying to say is you have to be really hungry in the early days, like really hungry. And that hunger that's what Arnie was asking me today. He's like, hey, is the hunger dead? And I'm like, no, the hunger is there. Am I more comfortable? Yes. But the hunger is still there. And like, I think in a lot of journeys, and I've had this with my own journeys and other ideas and ventures, it's like you lose the once you lose the ambition, you're dead. You're done on whatever idea you're going for. And I've lost ambition many times for different ideas. And it's just like, but for this, I've never lost it. And I think like when I really try to psychoanalyze it, it's like, why don't I lose the ambition of doing this every day? It's because I like hearing myself talk or something like that. Like I genuinely like researching and then communicating that research. And throughout the art form of a market open, market close, making sure we communicate it in a way that's effective. I don't know. I just love it. Really do love it. Remember when you used to ring the bell for every 100 people in the chat? Yes, I do remember. If we would hit 200 people, I would ring the bell. 300 people, I'd ring the bell. It was, you know, it was those early days where you were just trying to make sure people understood how much you cared that they were showing up. And I still deeply, deeply, deeply care and appreciate it. You can't ring the bell every 100 people now, but yeah, it's just life continues to go forward. Guys, I think he loves us. I absolutely do love you guys. It really means a lot. And I really hate being inconsistent, dude. Like one thing I cannot stand is inconsistency. That's why it's hard for me to get into a workout routine, because I'm very toxic with it. Like when I work out and when we begin the process of working out, I need to be consistent. And then if I'm traveling or this or that, and like end up eating bad food or something, then I become inconsistent, and then I just don't feel like working out. Then I feel like the workout is pointless. And there's obviously a healthy balance. I'm not mature enough to embrace that healthy balance. I need to be all in or all out, which is why I kind of need time to myself to like get into that all-in routine. But once I get in it, it's just it becomes pretty aggressive. Like the past 5 years with grinding on YouTube, like it becomes like when Amir said this morning. First of all, I was not on my phone 24/7 when they were here. Okay, he was definitely cat. He makes fun of me for that too much, but like he was like Amir was on his phone. I was not on my phone 24/7. But there are moments where if no one's talking, I'm gonna pick up my phone because there's work, right? Just like consuming information is a form of work, and trying to figure out how to turn that information into content. And that's like a grind that as a content creator, if you're not obsessed with it, it's hard to be really successful. Like really, really successful. You're not even inconsistent. Yeah, with content, I'm not inconsistent because again, I'm all in on this. But obviously, with working out, I've not become consistent yet, and that's something I hate. But I think to become like elite at content in particular, you've got to be obsessed with producing it, which means you have to love the art of creating it, which means you also have to have enough knowledge when creating it to be able to produce. Like, dude, I woke up at 5:30. I checked my phone. I see the Nvidia headline. I think it came out like 4 minutes before I woke up. Like it came out at like 5:25, and I woke up at 5:29, and then immediately I pull out my laptop. Like I just like jump out of bed, pull out my laptop. I'm like, all right, it's time to type. Gotta type up this. It's like some may say that's unhealthy, but the reason I'm going on X is because if you're the first to really report the news around a major company like Nvidia, that's something that allows you to grow. And then 10 minutes later, I haven't even brushed my teeth, and that Elon buys $1 billion of stock. I'm like, oh, well, this has got to turn into a content, and you have to put some thought into what picture you're going to use, how you're going to structure it, format, all this stuff. Like, there's so much shit that goes into just building something that it requires a certain level of obsession to like actually be in the process of building it. But it's why we're here. It's why we are here. And it's why we are here currently right now. All right, folks, that's it for me. We're done. Grabby Grab 625 after hours. I mean, if we get a 650 break in the coming weeks, that would be exceptional for this one. Congrats to everyone who's in the name. I don't think it's too late. I hope this is not some 2-day pump fake where then it tanks back down to 530. That would make me so sad. I don't think that's going to happen based on the volume and momentum, but we're going to find out. And we just got to see if that can continue. When are you going to be a guest on All In? Hopefully one day, dude. That would actually be super cool to be on that podcast or to be at the summit. But I think Vlad and Carp crush. We haven't even watched the clips from Carp, so I think over the coming days I'll try to get some more clips of Carp and Vlad, and we'll share those. But yeah. We are back officially. S&P 660, not too bad. Palantir 170, Tesla 409, Nvidia 177, Hoodie at 114. Thank you, everybody, for being here. Deeply appreciate folks being part of the channel. Chris will be on the channel later. He was on the channel last week, 2 days. He'll be on the channel later this week as well. And yeah. Keep going from there. I think we have dude, this is also my favorite time of the year. Like September to December. This is like literally my favorite time. Like I went home yesterday to see my mom, and she had like the fall Halloween stuff out in the house, and I don't know, I love that time of the year. So this is, something that I'm excited to embrace now that I'm independent and on my own for the next 4 months. But I think there's a lot of ideas with content that I have that we're going to get ready to put out, and just getting into routine and making sure we're consistent every day. That's also very important. So Tony says, me too. Yeah, dude, this is the best time of the year. These 4 months are legit the best time. It's like sweater weather outside. Like, it's great. It's awesome. So excited stuff. All right, thank you, everybody. Appreciate it. We'll be back at 9:30 for Tech Bros. And I will see you guys. Lisa says, how many times does Amit say that's it? He's done, and then continues to talk and read the chat. Dude, it's just like, I don't know, dude. I just like, dude can't stop. I could not think of a better job for myself, dude. Like, honestly, this is why I'm so blessed. Like, if I was at some corporate job, bro, I could not talk all day. Who would I talk to? Who would even care about what I talk about? Like, I'd be talking to myself. I'd legit be driving myself crazy. I basically do talk to myself every day. Like, I know it's to an audience, but it's also to like myself. But Herman says, dude, we need to sleep. It really is the perfect thing for me. Because I just love talking. Yeah, it's Lisa, it's your fault. You said the comment, and now I'm here. So is there something I didn't talk about? I know I said bye, but is there something I didn't talk about that's important to talk about? I don't think so. I think that's pretty much it. Did we talk about everything or no? Or are we good? I think we're good, right? Are we okay? Door-to-door sales. And maybe I would have succeeded in door-to-door sales. But door-to-door sales is a lot of rejection, bro. You have to deal with just like people slamming the door in front of you, so you don't really get the chance to talk as much. OMG, go home. All right, I'm leaving. I'm leaving. Officially leaving. I'm like, should I answer 7 of these questions and like keep things going, or dude, you remember when I did this when Grok 4 was? I think we went to like 2:30 a.m. It was a bit ridiculous. But dude, let us go. All right, only because Elaine said so. Only because Elaine said so. She's probably got to go do something more fun than be here. All right, appreciate you guys. We're back at 9:30 with Tanner and Roy. Talk about Hood Summit, Nvidia. And if I don't see you there, we'll see you on the market open tomorrow. Bye, everybody. Appreciate you guys. See you guys later tonight. Bye, everyone.